When Adrian Wolfe walked into his mansion that night, he was already dead. At least, that's what everyone believed. The sabotaged plane, the memorial arrangements, the fortune divided. But the dead don't hear their killers planning. They don't feel rage burning through their veins, and they certainly don't escape through hidden passages with a terrified maid who just saved their life. Adrian Wolfe came home early, and what he found didn't just break him, it armed him. This is the story of a king who lost everything, only to take it all back. Drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far Betrayal travels. The flight from Prague landed 3 hours early. Adrian Wolfe hated being early. It disrupted the rhythm, the carefully orchestrated machine of his life, where every gear turned precisely when it should. But the deal had collapsed faster than expected. A spectacularly bad negotiation with Czechs, who thought they could lowball him just because he wore American suits. He'd walked out mid-sentence, left them stammering in their conference room, and caught the first plane home. Now he sat in the back of an unmarked sedan, watching Chicago's late autumn rain streak across the window. The driver, some kid from the motor pool, not his usual guy, kept glancing in the rearview mirror like he'd won some lottery getting assigned to pick up the boss. "Music off," Adrian said. The kid fumbled with the controls. Silence filled the car except for the rhythmic thump of wipers. Adrian was 52, built like he still remembered what a gym looked like. With silver threading through dark hair he kept short enough to avoid looking like he was trying. His face had the kind of hardness that came from making decisions other people couldn't live with. Tonight, that face looked tired. The Prague thing bothered him more than it should. Not the failed deal, deals fell through. But something in how those men had looked at him, like they knew something he didn't, like they were already counting money that wasn't theirs yet. Paranoia was an occupational hazard in his line of work. Adrian had built an empire, not the legal kind, though the paperwork said otherwise, by trusting his gut and keeping his circle small. Smaller than small. His wife, Elena. His right hand, Marcus Chen. Maybe 3 others who'd earned it over decades. Everyone else was just labor. The mansion appeared through the trees, a sprawling estate in Kenilworth that cost more than most people earned in 10 lifetimes. Old money architecture with new money guts. Security systems that could have protected a military base, walls disguised as ornamental landscaping, cameras hidden in birdhouses. All the lights were off. Adrian leaned forward. "Why is it dark?" The kid's eyes flicked to the mirror. "Sir? The house. Why are all the lights off?" I don't know, sir. You want me to call it in?" "No?" Adrian's hand was already on the door handle. "Wait here." He stepped into rain that immediately soaked through his jacket. The circular driveway was empty. Elena's Mercedes wasn't in sight, neither was Marcus's Audi. The fountain in the center sat dormant. No water, just dead leaves collecting in the basin. Wrong. This was wrong. Elena knew he was coming home tomorrow. She'd have staff ready, lights on, the house alive with that manufactured warmth she was so good at creating. Elena didn't do darkness and silence. She did champagne and carefully selected music and conversations that made you feel like you were the most important person in whatever room she'd designed. Adrian's phone buzzed. He pulled it out. A text from Marcus. "Safe travels, boss. See you tomorrow night. Got something to show you." His thumb hovered over the reply. Something in his chest tightened. Marcus never texted unless Adrian texted first. It was an unspoken rule. You didn't bother Adrian Wolfe unless there was blood or money. And even then you called. He pocketed the phone and moved toward the house. The front door was locked, which was normal, but when he keyed in the code, the panel beeped wrong. Access denied. He tried again. Same result. What the hell? Adrian kept a backup key hidden in a fake stone by the north entrance, an old habit from before he'd trusted anyone. He retrieved it now, hands steady despite the cold water running down his neck. The door opened silently. No alarm. The system should have triggered the moment he touched the handle. Silent alert to Marcus's phone, to the security company, to 3 different backups. Nothing. Inside, the house felt emptier than dark. It felt hollowed out. Adrian stood in the marble foyer, water dripping onto Italian tile, and listened. Old instincts, the kind that kept you breathing in his business, kicked into overdrive. He reached into his jacket and found the compact Glock he always carried, 15 rounds, chambered, safety off. A sound. Faint. Upstairs. Footsteps. His heart rate didn't spike. Adrian Wolfe had stopped having panic responses 20 years ago, replaced them with cold calculation. Someone was in his house. Multiple options. Security doing a sweep he didn't know about, Elena home despite the missing car, intruders who'd picked the worst possible night. Or something else. He moved through the dark like he knew every inch, because he did. Past the sitting room where Elena hosted her charity events, through the hallway lined with art that cost more than the kid driver would make in his lifetime, toward the grand staircase. Another sound stopped him cold. A voice, low, female, coming from the kitchen. Adrian shifted direction, weapon up, but not aggressive. The kitchen was enormous, all marble and stainless steel, designed for a private chef they barely used. A figure stood by the island, silhouetted against the dim light from the stove hood. Small, young, wearing what looked like a maid's uniform. "Don't move," Adrian said, not loud. Didn't need to be. The figure jumped, turned. He saw her face in this weak light, mid-20s, dark hair pulled back, eyes wide with something beyond fear. "Mr. Wolfe?" Her voice cracked on his name. He knew her, Mara something, new hire, maybe 6 months ago. Elena had mentioned her once, good worker, quiet, didn't steal. "What are you doing here?" he asked. She took a step toward him and he raised the gun instinctively. She froze. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. You shouldn't be here." "That's my line." "Where's my wife?" Mara's face did something complicated. Fear, yes, but underneath it something sharper. Sadness, maybe. Pity. "Please," she said, and her hand came up, finger to her lips in a gesture so urgent it bypassed his threat assessment. "Please, you have to be quiet. This is my house. They'll hear you." Her eyes darted to the ceiling. "They're upstairs. If they know you're here, they'll kill us both." Adrian's finger rested on the trigger guard, not the trigger. Years of training. "Who's upstairs?" "Mrs. Wolfe, and Marcus, and others." The way she said others made something in his gut twist. "How many others?" "I counted 6. Maybe more in the cars outside the gate." Adrian processed that. Cars. Outside the gate. He'd seen nothing on the drive-in, but if they were staged back in the trees, watching the road. "Why are you still here?" he asked. "I was supposed to leave." Mara's hands twisted together. "They gave all the staff the week off. Paid vacation, but I forgot my phone, came back for it, and when I got here I saw—" She stopped. Her face was pale even in the bad light. "I hid. In the pantry. They don't know I'm here." "What did you see?" She looked at him like he'd asked her to jump off a bridge. "Mr. Wolfe, I—" A laugh from upstairs. Clear, unmistakable. Elena's laugh. The one she used at parties when someone said something clever. Adrian moved before Mara could stop him, toward the back stairs, the servant's route to the second floor. She followed, grabbed his arm with surprising strength. "Don't!" she hissed. "Please, you don't understand." "Let go. They think you're dead." That stopped him. Mara's eyes were wet now, tears or just fear he couldn't tell. "The plane. Your plane from Prague. It went down over the Atlantic. No survivors. It's all over the news. There's going to be a memorial on Friday." Adrian stared at her. The words made sounds, but no sense. "That's impossible," he said. "I'm standing here." "You weren't supposed to be." Her voice dropped so low he almost didn't hear it. "The plane that left after yours. Same route. They think you were on it. Everyone thinks you were on it." The floor seemed to tilt. Adrian had been in tight situations before. Ambushes, betrayals, close calls that should have ended him. But this was different. This was reality bending in ways that made no sense until suddenly it made perfect sense. The failed deal in Prague. The Czechs who looked at him like he was already gone. Marcus texting instead of calling. Elena, upstairs, laughing. "What are they doing up there?" he asked. Mara swallowed. "Dividing everything. I heard them. Your accounts, your properties, your businesses. All of it. They have lawyers on speakerphone. They're signing papers." "Marcus is in on this." It wasn't a question, but she nodded anyway. "He's running it, giving orders. Mrs. Wolfe is she's just sitting there drinking wine, like it's a party." 23 years. He'd known Marcus Chen for 23 years, brought him up from street level, taught him everything, trusted him with secrets that could have ended them both. And Elena. 17 years of marriage, of sharing beds and lies, and building something that looked enough like love that neither of them questioned it. The rage that hit Adrian was pure, clean, almost clarifying. He started for the stairs again. Mara blocked him, this tiny thing in a maid's uniform, putting herself between him and forward motion. There are armed men. I saw them. 3 in the house, more outside. You'll die before you reach the bedroom. Get out of my way. No. He could have moved her easily, should have, but something in her face, the set of her jaw, the way she held her ground despite shaking, reminded him of someone. Him, maybe. 20 years ago, when he'd had nothing to lose and everything to prove. Why do you care if I die? He asked. Because they're going to kill me too. She said it flat, matter of fact. I heard them talking. After they're done with the paperwork, they're going to clean up loose ends. That's what Marcus said. The staff who might ask questions, the people who knew your schedule, anyone who could complicate the story. You could have run. I tried. I got as far as the back gate before I saw them. 2 men with guns, smoking, watching the road. Her hands were still shaking. I came back inside. I was hiding, waiting for morning, hoping they'd leave. Then you walked in. Adrian looked at this girl, this stranger who'd somehow become the only ally he had in a house full of enemies, and made a calculation. Rage wanted him to storm upstairs, start shooting, die in a blaze of fury that proved nothing. Survival wanted something smarter. He lowered the gun. Where can we hear them? He asked. Relief crossed her face. There's a vent in the upstairs hallway. I was listening from the linen closet. Show me. They moved through the dark house like ghosts. Adrian followed Mara up the back stairs, each step measured, silent. Years of expensive construction meant the wood didn't creak. Money bought discretion even from your floors. The second level was darker than the first. Mara led him down a hallway he rarely used, staff territory, service spaces designed to be invisible. She stopped at a narrow door, opened it to reveal a closet packed with towels and sheets that smelled like lavender. Inside, pressed against the back wall, Adrian could hear everything. Transfer should clear by Monday. Marcus's voice, tinny through the vent but unmistakable. Once it does, we move the offshore accounts. Nobody even knows they exist except us. And the Chicago properties? A man's voice Adrian didn't recognize. Liquidate the residential, keep the commercial. We'll need the income streams while we restructure. Adrian's jaw tightened. Those were his buildings, his investments, 20 years of work. Elena spoke next. What about the memorial? Do we really have to do the whole grieving widow performance? It's expected. Marcus sounded patient, like explaining to a child. 1 week of mourning, then we start transitioning. You sell the house, say you can't bear the memories. Move to the penthouse downtown. I'll handle business from the office. Clean. Simple. And no one suspects? Why would they? Adrian Wolfe died in a plane crash. Tragic. Sudden. These things happen. A pause. Adrian could picture Marcus, lean, sharp-dressed, with eyes that missed nothing. The man who'd stood beside him through territory wars and federal investigations and close calls that should have ended them both. What about the girl? Elena asked. Adrian felt Mara stiffen beside him. What girl? Marcus said. The maid. Mara. She wasn't on the staff list you gave me. Where is she? Paid vacation with the others. Are you sure? She's very observant, always watching. I never liked her. Silence. Then Marcus. I'll handle it. How? Does it matter? Another pause. When Elena spoke again, her voice had changed, colder. I suppose not, as long as it's clean. Everything will be clean. In the closet, Mara's breathing had gone shallow. Adrian touched her shoulder, not comfort, just acknowledgement. They were both dead already, according to the people upstairs. The only question was whether they'd stay that way. The lawyers need signatures on the asset transfer, the unknown man said. If you're ready? Sounds of movement, papers rustling, the scratch of pens. This is really happening, Elena said, and she sounded almost giddy. I'm actually free. We're free, Marcus corrected. Partners. Equal split, like we agreed. Of course. Partners. Something in how they said it made Adrian's stomach turn. He replayed conversations, dinners, late nights at the office. Marcus and Elena in the same room. How long? How long had this been building while he'd been too busy building his empire to notice the empire builders turning against him? A phone rang. Marcus answered. Yeah? Good. Keep the perimeter tight. No one in or out until we're done here. I don't care if it takes all night. We finish this now. He hung up. Security's locked down, Marcus said. We're clear to finish the transfers. Adrian had heard enough. He backed out of the closet, Mara following. In the hallway, barely visible in the ambient light from the windows, he could see her face. She looked like someone watching their execution get scheduled. There's a way out, she whispered. Through the basement. Old service tunnel. It connects to the property next door. The Harrisons. They're in Florida for the winter. You've been planning this. I've been trapped here for 6 hours. I've planned a lot of things. Smart girl. The tunnel, it's still accessible? I checked. The door's hidden behind the wine cellar, but it opens, comes out in their garage. Adrian considered. The Harrisons' property was 2 acres over, heavily wooded between. If they could make it there, steal a car, disappear before Marcus realized. What then? Mara asked. Where do we go? Good question. His accounts were compromised. His properties were being liquidated. His people, the ones he'd thought were his people, had already chosen sides. He had the clothes he was wearing, a gun with 15 rounds, and a maid who'd saved his life for no good reason. I know someone, he said, someone who owes me. But we have to move now. The men outside will be watching the gates and the main roads, not the Harrison property, not yet. Mara nodded. Fear still tight across her face, but underneath it something else. Determination, maybe. The kind that came from being backed into a corner with no good options. They moved fast through the house, down to the basement, past the wine cellar that held bottles worth more than her yearly salary. Adrian found the hidden door exactly where Mara said it would be, behind a rack of 1982 Bordeaux that swung out on hidden hinges. The tunnel was old stone, smelled like earth and water. Dark enough that Adrian had to use his phone flashlight, battery at 30%. They moved single file, Mara leading now because she'd been through once already. Behind them, faint, the sound of footsteps on the floor above. Check the perimeter again. I want every entrance confirmed secure. Marcus's voice, distant but clear in the tunnel's acoustics. They ran. The tunnel felt longer than 2 acres. Adrian's shoes splashed through standing water, his breath coming harder than it should. When was the last time he'd actually run anywhere? Everything in his life had been cars and elevators and people who moved obstacles before he reached them. Mara hit the far door first, shoved it open. They emerged into darkness that smelled like motor oil and garden chemicals. The Harrisons' garage, 3-car, empty except for storage. There, Mara pointed to a pegboard. Keys hung on labeled hooks. They leave them all here. Adrian grabbed keys for the Lexus SUV, best for bad roads and distance. He hit the unlock button. Nothing. Battery's dead, Mara said. She was already grabbing another set. Try the Range Rover. That one beeped. They piled in, Adrian behind the wheel. The garage door was closed, no opener visible. We'll have to punch through, he said. They'll hear it. They'll hear it anyway when we hit the road. He started the engine, shifted into reverse, and floored it. The Range Rover crashed through the garage door like it was cardboard, wood and metal screaming. They shot backward into the driveway, Adrian spinning the wheel, shifting to drive. Headlights appeared through the trees, coming fast from the direction of his property. Go! Mara shouted. Adrian went. The Range Rover hit the main road doing 60, tires shrieking. In the mirror, headlights multiplied. 2 vehicles. 3. They'd been faster than he'd thought. They were waiting for this, Mara said, twisted in her seat to look back. They knew you might come home early. Then why stage the whole thing for tomorrow? I don't know. Maybe they weren't sure. Maybe the plane crash was real and they just decided to use it. That made a sick kind of sense. Opportunity meeting preparation. Marcus would think that way. Always ready to pivot, to take advantage. Adrian pushed the Range Rover harder. They hit Lakeshore Drive going 80, weaving through late-night traffic, The pursuing headlights kept pace. "Where are we going?" Mara asked. "South, to someone who hates me." "That's the plan?" "It's the only plan where we don't die in the next 10 minutes. She didn't argue. Smart girl. The city blurred past. High-rises and waterfront and neighborhoods Adrian owned pieces of through shell companies and intermediaries. His empire, built over decades, now being carved up by people he'd trusted. The betrayal should have hurt more. Maybe it would later. Right now, it was just fuel. His phone rang. "Marcus." Adrian let it ring, then answered. "You're supposed to be dead," Marcus said. No surprise in his voice, just statement of fact. "Disappointed?" "Honestly, yeah. Would have been cleaner." 23 years, Marcus. 23 years of watching you build an empire on my back. You think I didn't notice? Every move I made, every risk I took, it was always your name on the door, your face in the papers. I was just the help. I gave you everything. You gave me scraps." Marcus's voice went hard. "And now I'm taking the meal." Adrian watched the pursuing cars in his mirror. They were hanging back now, keeping distance, hurting him somewhere. "You won't get away with this," Adrian said. Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. "I already have. You're dead, Adrian. The news says so. The paperwork says so. Even your wife says so. You could walk into a police station right now and they'd think you're a con artist, a lookalike, someone trying to steal a dead man's identity." "I have proof." "Of what? That you're alive?" "Great. Then we just kill you for real and nothing changes. Or you hide, disappear, and we still get everything. Either way, you lose." The line went dead. Adrian threw the phone against the dashboard. It cracked, screen splintering. "He's right, isn't he?" Mara said quietly. "If you surface, if you try to prove you're alive, they'll just finish what they started. Then we don't surface. Then how do you get your empire back?" Adrian didn't answer because he didn't have one. Not yet. The headlights behind them suddenly accelerated. All three vehicles, moving in formation. "They're boxing us in," Mara said. Adrian saw it too. Two cars coming up on either side, one pushing from behind. Standard tactical maneuver. Force the target into a kill zone. Ahead, the road split, left toward the industrial district, right toward the highway. "Hold on," Adrian said. He waited until the pursuing cars committed to the herding pattern, then slammed the brakes. The Range Rover's weight and momentum made it shudder, but it stopped. The car behind them didn't react fast enough, rear-ended them with a screech of metal. Adrian shifted to reverse, floored it, pushed the damaged car backward, then spun the wheel hard. The Range Rover pivoted, tires smoking, and shot forward down the left split. Gunfire cracked. The rear window shattered. Mara screamed, ducked low. Adrian kept driving. The industrial district was a maze of warehouses and factories, most abandoned, some still operating with skeleton night crews. He knew this area, had owned parts of it once, used the empty buildings for storage of things that didn't belong in polite society. He took 3 random turns, killed the lights, pulled behind a rusted-out factory. They sat in darkness, engine ticking, both breathing hard. "Are you hit?" Adrian asked. "No, you?" "No." They waited, listening. The sound of engines prowling nearby, searching. Headlights swept past the alley entrance, moved on. Mara was shaking. Shock, probably. Near death did that. "Why did you help me?" Adrian asked. "In the house. You could have stayed hidden, waited for them to leave." She looked at him. Even in the dark, he could see her eyes. "They were going to kill me anyway. And you looked surprised. When I told you about the plane, if you'd been faking, if this was some scheme, you wouldn't have looked surprised. So you trusted your instincts. I trusted that we both wanted to live." Simple, true. Adrian liked simple and true. His phone was dead, but the Range Rover had navigation. He pulled up the map, traced routes south. The person he was thinking of, the one who owed him, lived in Hammond, Indiana. Industrial town, blue collar, the kind of place Adrian Wolfe never visited because there was no money in it. But 15 years ago, there'd been a problem. A territorial dispute with the Southside crews that had threatened to go hot. Adrian had stepped in, negotiated a truce, and in the process saved the life of a man named Vincent Corso. Vincent had sworn a debt. People in their world didn't forget debts. "We'll wait an hour," Adrian said. Let them expand their search pattern. Then we move. To Hammond. You know it? I grew up there. Mara's voice was soft. Worked 3 jobs to get out. Came to Chicago thinking it'd be different, better. Then I ended up cleaning houses for people who didn't know my name. I know your name. You know it now. Fair point. They sat in silence. Outside, the city hummed. Sirens, traffic, the ambient noise of millions of people living their lives while 2 people sat in a stolen car trying to figure out how to survive the night. Can I ask you something? Mara said. Yeah. Did you love her? Your wife? Adrian thought about Elena. The way she smiled at parties. The way she looked at him across crowded rooms like they shared secrets. The way she'd signed papers tonight, dividing his life up like a estate sale. I thought I did, he said, but maybe I just loved the idea of having someone who belonged to me. Someone who chose this life knowing what it meant. And Marcus? Marcus was the brother I never had, or thought I did. Turns out he was just waiting for his shot. You didn't see it coming. No one ever does. That's what makes betrayal work. Mara was quiet for a moment, then, my father was a gambler, owed money all over Hammond. One day men came to the house, they wanted their payment. My father didn't have it, so they burned the house down with him inside. I was 12. Adrian looked at her. The people who did it, Mara continued, they walked away. No arrests, no justice. Because they had money and connections, and my father was nobody. I swore then I'd never be nobody again. That's why I came to Chicago. That's why I took a job cleaning your house, because proximity to power felt like power. It's not. I know that now. They both understood something in that moment. The world was divided into people who took and people who got taken from. Adrian had spent his life being a taker. Mara had spent hers being taken from. Tonight, the categories had scrambled. If we get through this, Adrian said, things will be different. What things? Everything. It wasn't a promise. Promises were cheap. But it was a statement of intent, which in their current situation might be worth more. His watch read 2:47 a.m. The hour was up. Time to move, he said. They pulled out of the alley, lights still off, navigating by moonlight and familiarity. The pursuing cars had moved on, spread out searching other areas. Adrian took surface streets, avoiding highways and cameras, working south toward the state line. Somewhere in the distance, his house stood dark and empty, except for the people carving up his life. His wife, probably back to drinking wine. His right hand, probably already planning his next move. The empire Adrian had built, already being rebuilt in someone else's image. Let them have it, he thought. Let them think they've won. Because the dead don't plot revenge. The dead don't make plans. The dead don't come back. But Adrian Wolfe wasn't dead. Not yet. Not ever. They crossed into Indiana as dawn started breaking, turning the sky from black to gray. Mara had fallen asleep against the window, exhausted from adrenaline and fear. Adrian drove, mind working through angles and options. Vincent Corso. The debt. 15 years old but still valid, that was the code. You paid what you owed, or you weren't worth anything in this world. The question was whether Vincent would see it that way, whether 15 years had eroded the obligation, whether the news of Adrian's death had already reached Hammond and turned gratitude into opportunity. Only one way to find out. Hammond appeared through morning fog, refineries and factories and streets that had seen better decades. Adrian navigated from memory to a neighborhood he'd visited once, a lifetime ago. Row houses with chain-link fences, cars that ran but barely, the kind of place where people worked hard and died tired. Vincent's house was the same as he remembered, small, neat, American flag on the porch. Adrian parked down the street, killed the engine. Mara stirred. We're here? Yeah. What now? Now we find out if old debts still mean anything. They walked to the house in dawn light. Adrian's suit was ruined, torn and water-stained. Mara's uniform was worse. They looked like refugees, which wasn't far from true. Adrian knocked. Long silence, then footsteps. The door cracked open, chain still on. Vincent Corso looked older, grayer, but his eyes were the same, sharp and assessing. Adrian Wolfe, Vincent said. Not a question. Vincent? You're supposed to be dead. I get that a lot lately. Vincent studied him through the crack, then looked at Mara, then back to Adrian. You in trouble? The kind that doesn't end. A moment passed, then Vincent unhooked the chain and opened the door. Then I guess you'd better come in. Vincent's living room smelled like coffee and old newspapers. The furniture was worn but clean, the kind that lasted because it was built right, not because it was expensive. Family photos covered the mantel, kids, grandkids, a woman who must have been Vincent's wife before cancer took her 3 years back. Adrian remembered sending flowers to the funeral. Anonymous. That was how these things worked. Vincent gestured to the couch. Sit. You look like hell. Feel worse, Adrian said. Mara hovered near the door like she might need to run. Vincent noticed. You can relax, girl. Nobody's coming through that door. I don't want coming through. She's with me, Adrian said. Mara, this is Vincent Corso. Vincent, Mara. He realized he didn't know her last name. Kozlov, she finished. Mara Kozlov. Vincent's eyebrows went up. Russian? Ukrainian. My parents came over in '98. Vincent disappeared into the kitchen, returned with 3 mugs of coffee. Black, no sugar. He handed them out and sat in a recliner that groaned under his weight. So, you want to tell me why a dead man is sitting in my living room at 6 in the morning? Adrian wrapped his hands around the mug. The heat helped. You see the news last night? About the plane? Yeah. Saw your picture on TV. They were talking about memorial services, charity foundations in your name. Very touching. I wasn't on that plane. Clearly. But someone wanted me to be. Vincent sipped his coffee, watching Adrian over the rim. Your wife? And my right hand, Marcus Chen. The Chinese kid who follows you around? Korean, and he's 43. Still a kid to me. Vincent set down his mug. So they tried to kill you, failed, and now you're here cashing in a 15-year-old debt. That about right? That's right. And what exactly do you want from me? Adrian met his eyes. Time. Maybe a safe place to think. Maybe a phone that isn't compromised. That's it? No guns, no muscle, no fake IDs? Not yet. Vincent laughed, a sound like rocks grinding. You know what I like about you, Adrian? Most guys in your position would come in here making demands, throwing weight around. You're asking. That shows respect or desperation. Maybe both. Probably both, Adrian admitted. What about her? Vincent nodded at Mara. She part of this? She saved my life. That a fact? Vincent studied Mara with new interest. How'd that happen? Mara glanced at Adrian. He nodded. She took a breath and told the story. Hiding in the pantry. Hearing the conspiracy, warning Adrian before he walked into a bullet. She left nothing out, including the part about them planning to kill her. When she finished, Vincent was quiet for a long moment. You grew up in Hammond, he said finally. Yes, sir. Kozlov. I knew a Dmitry Kozlov, gambler, owed money to some very unpleasant people. Mara's face went tight. That was my father. Thought so. I heard about what happened to him. Nasty business. You got out, though. Made something of yourself. I cleaned houses. You survived. In my book, that's making something. Vincent turned back to Adrian. So you've got 2 problems. First, you're legally dead and can't prove otherwise without getting actually dead. Second, your empire's being carved up by people who know all your moves because they learned from you. That sound about right. More or less. And you think you can get it back. I don't know what I think yet. Honest answer. Vincent stood, walked to the window, looked out at the gray morning. I'm going to tell you something, Adrian. When you saved my life 15 years ago, you didn't just save me, you saved my daughter. She was 6 months pregnant, living with me because her piece of shit husband ran off. If those Southside boys had come for me, they'd have come through her to get to me. You know how that works. Adrian did. So yeah, I owe you, but more than that, I respect what you did. You didn't have to step in. It wasn't your territory, wasn't your problem. But you did it anyway because it was the right play. Strategic thinking married to basic decency. That's rare in our world. Vincent, let me finish. You can stay here long as you need. use my phone, use my resources, limited as they are. But I need to know something first. What's the end game? You looking for revenge, or you looking to rebuild? Adrian thought about that. In the car, running through Chicago with bullets chasing them, it had been pure survival. Then it had been rage, the need to make Marcus and Elena pay for what they'd done. But sitting here in Vincent's living room, watching morning light creep across the floor, he realized revenge was the small play, the weak play. Rebuild, he said. But different. Different how? Smaller, tighter. People I can actually trust. That's a short list these days. I know. Vincent nodded slowly. Okay, then here's what we do. You rest today, both of you. Sleep, eat, think. Tonight, we start making calls. I still know people in Chicago, people who don't watch the news much and won't ask questions. We find out exactly what Marcus and your wife are doing, how they're restructuring, where the vulnerabilities are. They'll be looking for me. They'll be looking for Adrian Wolfe, crime boss. They won't be looking for some nobody hiding in Hammond. Vincent smiled. Advantage of being dead. People stop looking once they think you're buried. Mara spoke up. What about me? I'm on their list too. You're a maid who went missing. They might look for you, might not. Depends on how paranoid they are. Vincent considered. We should probably change your hair, cut it, dye it, different clothes. You're young enough that basic changes will make you invisible. I don't want to be invisible. You want to be alive. Sometimes they're the same thing. She didn't argue. Vincent showed them to a guest room upstairs. 2 twin beds, clean sheets, a window that looked out on the backyard. Modest, safe, foreign to everything Adrian had known for decades. Bathroom's down the hall, Vincent said. Towels in the closet. I'll make breakfast in an hour. Try to sleep before then. He left, closing the door. Adrian sat on one of the beds. The mattress was firm, springs that didn't give much. Mara stood by the window, looking out. You believe him? She asked. Vincent? Yeah. Why? Because he didn't have to let us in. Could have turned us away, called someone, collected a reward. The fact that we're here means he's committed. People can change their minds. Not people like Vincent. He's old school. His word means something. Mara turned from the window. What about your word? Did it mean something? The question hit harder than it should have. I'd like to think so. Marcus thought you were his brother. Your wife thought you were her husband. They both thought your word meant something too. Right up until they decided to kill you. Adrian looked at her. Really looked. This girl who'd saved his life, who'd run through bullets with him, who'd lost everything overnight just like he had. She wasn't wrong. I don't have a good answer for that, he said. Maybe I wasn't who I thought I was. Maybe the empire I built was rotten from the start and I just didn't want to see it. Or maybe the people around you were always going to betray you and you just got unlucky with who you trusted. You think that's better? I think it's different. One makes you the problem. The other makes you human. She sat on the other bed, still in her ruined uniform, hair falling out of its tie. She looked exhausted. They both were. We should sleep, Adrian said. I don't think I can. Every time I close my eyes, I see them. In your house, drinking wine and dividing up your life like it was nothing, like you were nothing. I was nothing to them. That's what I'm learning. Mara pulled her knees up, wrapped her arms around them. My father used to say that trust is just another word for leverage. You trust people because you have something they want, or they have something you want. When the balance shifts, the trust disappears. Your father sounds like he learned things the hard way. He died learning them. They sat in silence. Outside, Hammond woke up, cars starting, people heading to jobs that paid by the hour, and ended with sore backs. Normal life, the kind Adrian had spent his entire adult life avoiding. His phone was destroyed. His accounts were compromised. His empire was gone. And somehow, sitting in a guest room in Hammond, Indiana, with a girl who cleaned houses and a debt owed by a man he'd met once 15 years ago, Adrian felt more clear-headed than he had in years. I'm going to make them pay, he said quietly. Not just for me, for you too, for what they were going to do to you. I don't need revenge. Then what do you need? Mara thought about that. I need to not be afraid anymore. I need to matter. Even if it's just to one person, I need to know I'm not invisible. You're not invisible to me. I am. I was. Until last night, you didn't even know my last name. Another hit. She was collecting them, and Adrian was starting to realize he deserved everyone. You're right, he said, and I'm sorry. But that changes now. You're not the help. You're not staff. You're the person who saved my life when she didn't have to, and that makes you more valuable than anyone in my entire organization. Your organization's gone. Then you're valuable to whatever comes next. She looked at him like she was trying to figure out if he meant it. Adrian wasn't entirely sure himself, but he thought he might. The old Adrian Wolfe would have said whatever worked, whatever manipulated people into being useful. This version, the one who'd lost everything and was rebuilding from nothing, wanted to mean it. We should really try to sleep, Mara said finally. Yeah. She lay down on her bed, still dressed, curling on her side facing the wall. Adrian did the same, listening to the house settle around them. Vincent's footsteps downstairs, the hum of the refrigerator. Normal sounds that felt alien after a lifetime of mansions with staff and security systems and silence bought with money. Sleep came in pieces, broken by dreams of Elena's laugh and Marcus's voice and planes falling from the sky. When Adrian woke, sunlight streamed through the window and the smell of bacon filled the house. Mara's bed was empty. He heard voices downstairs, hers and Vincent's, easy conversation like they'd known each other longer than a few hours. Adrian stood, every muscle aching. He was 52 and felt every year. The mirror in the bathroom showed a man who looked older than his reflection from yesterday. Gray stubble, lines around his eyes, a hardness that came from watching your life end while you were still breathing. He splashed water on his face and went downstairs. Vincent and Mara sat at the kitchen table. Eggs, bacon, toast, coffee. She'd changed clothes, jeans and a sweater that must have belonged to Vincent's daughter, too big on her small frame. Her hair was still dark, still long, but she'd pulled it back differently. She looked younger, more vulnerable. Sleeping Beauty awakens, Vincent said. Sit, eat. You look like you need it. Adrian sat. The food was simple, but good. They ate in comfortable silence for a while, the kind of silence that came when everyone was too tired to fill it with words. Finally, Vincent pushed his plate back. Okay, strategy time. I made some calls while you were sleeping. Very quiet calls to very specific people. Here's what I learned. He pulled out a notepad covered in scrawled handwriting. Marcus Chen has moved fast. Already announced himself as interim head of your operations. Says he's keeping things running while the estate gets sorted. Most people are buying it because, frankly, he's been running the day-to-day for years anyway. You were always the vision guy. He was the execution. Adrian's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Your wife is playing the grieving widow perfectly. Lots of public appearances, tears at all the right moments. She's already hired a PR firm to manage her image during the transition. That's a direct quote. Of course she did. Your assets are being moved systematically. Shell companies, offshore accounts, property transfers, everything legal on paper. They've got good lawyers. Better than good, the kind you pay to make problems disappear. I know, I hired them. Yeah, well, now they're working for Marcus. He's paying them twice what you did, according to my source. With my money? Technically, his money now. Dead men don't own property. Mara leaned forward. What about the people who worked for Adrian? The crews, the lieutenants? Are they just accepting this? Most of them, yeah. Some grumbling, some questions, but nobody's pushing back hard. Marcus is offering bonuses for loyalty. Smart move. Buy people's silence with their own greed. There has to be someone who won't flip, Adrian said. Someone who remembers what I built, what I did for them. Vincent consulted his notes. Maybe 2, 3 people. Old-timers mostly. Guys who came up with you from the beginning. But they're being watched. Marcus has security on them, making sure they don't cause problems. Who? Tommy Vega, runs your Southside operations. He's been asking questions according to my source. Wants to see a body, wants proof. Marcus is keeping him on a short leash. Adrian knew Tommy. Good man, loyal, had a wife and 3 kids, mortgage in Oak Park, coached Little League. The kind of guy who did bad things so his family could have good lives. Who else? Diane Reese, your accountant. She's been stonewalling Marcus on some of the overseas transfers. Says she needs more documentation, more proof of authority. He's getting frustrated with her. Diane. Adrian had hired her 12 years ago after she'd exposed embezzlement at her previous firm. She had principles, which was rare in their world. Annoying sometimes, but reliable. Those are your people, Vincent said. Problem is, they're surrounded. Can't move without Marcus knowing. Can't communicate without being monitored. They're trapped in a system you built to be unbreachable. I designed those protocols, Adrian said. I know the vulnerabilities. Maybe, but Marcus knows them too. He helped you build them. True. Everything Adrian had created, Marcus had touched. Every security measure, every backup plan, every failsafe. They'd built the empire together, which meant Marcus knew exactly how to hold it. Adrian stood, walked to the window. Hammond stretched out, row houses and corner stores and a factory with smoke rising into gray sky. Somewhere in Chicago, Marcus was sitting in an office that used to be his, making decisions that should have been his, living a life built on his corpse. There's another option, Mara said quietly. Both men turned. What if you didn't try to take it back, she continued. What if you just destroyed it? Explain, Vincent said. Marcus wants the empire, so does Elena. They killed for it or tried to. Their entire plan depends on keeping everything running, keeping the money flowing. But what if the money stopped? What if the whole thing collapsed? Adrian felt something click. Scorched earth. Exactly. You can't have it, so nobody can. Vincent leaned back, studying Mara with new interest. You know, for a girl who cleaned houses, you think like a strategist. I read a lot. What do you read? History. Military history mostly. Strategy. Tactics. How empires fall. Jesus, Vincent muttered. Okay, I like her. Adrian, you should keep her. Adrian was still processing the idea. Scorched earth meant destroying everything, burning his own legacy, dismantling what he'd spent decades building. It went against every instinct. But Mara was right. If he couldn't take it back, making sure Marcus couldn't keep it was a kind of victory. It would hurt a lot of people, Adrian said. People who depend on the organization, workers, families. They'll get hurt anyway when Marcus runs it into the ground, Mara countered. At least this way you control the collapse. You can protect the ones who matter. How? Warning them first, getting them out, setting them up somewhere else. Vincent nodded slowly. She's not wrong. Marcus is ruthless, but he's not careful, not like you were. He'll make mistakes, cut corners, alienate people. Within a year, maybe less, the whole thing implodes anyway. You'd just be accelerating the timeline. Adrian thought about Tommy Vega's kids, Diane Reese's mortgage, the hundreds of people who worked in his businesses, some legitimate, some not, who showed up every day and did their jobs and went home to families. Collateral damage in a war he'd started by trusting the wrong people. There's a middle path, he said. We don't destroy everything. We target the pillars, the things holding it together. Take those out. The whole structure weakens. Then we extract the people we care about and let Marcus deal with the ruins. Which pillars? Vincent asked. Adrian's mind was already working. The money flow, that's first. Marcus needs cash to keep everyone loyal, keep operations running. We cut off the revenue streams. He starts to panic. How do you cut off your own revenue? By knowing where it comes from. I have accounts Marcus doesn't know about. Emergency funds, off-book operations. He's smart, but he doesn't know everything. I kept some things back just in case. In case what? In case something like this happened. Vincent smiled. Paranoid bastard. It's kept me alive this long. Mara stood pacing. What else? Besides money? Information. Marcus is using my network, my contacts, my relationships, but relationships go two ways. If I can reach certain people, explain what really happened, some of them might flip. He's watching them, Vincent said. You said it yourself. Not all of them. Some people operate outside the normal channels. Side deals, personal arrangements. Marcus doesn't know about those because I never told him. Why not? Adrian met his eyes. Because even when I trusted him, I didn't trust him completely. I always held something back. Call it instinct. Call it experience. I don't know, but I'm glad I did. Mara stopped pacing. So we have money he doesn't know about and people he can't watch.
What's the third pillar? Elena. The name hung in the air. She's the face of legitimacy, Adrian continued.
The grieving widow who's keeping things together out of love and duty. If we crack that image, if we expose her for what she really is, the whole performance falls apart. How do you prove she's lying? Vincent asked. I don't know yet, but she's not as careful as Marcus. She's emotional, impulsive. She'll make mistakes. We just need to be watching when she does. They talked for hours, sketching plans, identifying targets, building a strategy from scraps and old debts and pure spite. By the time the sun started setting, they had the outline of something that might work. It wasn't clean. It wasn't guaranteed, but it was possible. Vincent made dinner, pasta, simple sauce, bread. They ate like soldiers before a battle, fuel, not pleasure. I need to make a call, Adrian said after. Encrypted line if you have one. Vincent pulled out a burner phone. Untraceable. Use it. Adrian stepped outside into the cold evening. The street was quiet, lights coming on in windows. He dialed a number from memory, one he hadn't used in 3 years. It rang 4 times. Then a voice, suspicious. Yeah? Tommy. It's Adrian. Silence. Long enough that Adrian thought he'd hung up. Boss? Tommy's voice was barely a whisper. That you? It's me. But the plane wasn't on it. Marcus and Elena set me up. They think I'm dead. Holy shit. More silence, then, where are you? Somewhere safe. Listen, I don't have long. Are you being watched? 24/7. 2 guys, rotating shifts. Marcus says it's for my protection. Protection my ass. Can you talk freely? I'm in my garage. They're out front. I got maybe 5 minutes before they get suspicious. Then listen. I need you to do something for me. Can you access the Southside accounts, the ones we use for weekly distributions? Yeah, I've got login access. I need you to move funds, small amounts, different accounts, spread over 3 days. Make it look like normal operational transfers. Can you do that without raising flags? Probably. Where am I moving it to? Adrian gave him account numbers from memory. His private reserves, the ones Marcus didn't know existed. That's a lot of money, boss. I know, but we're going to need it. Once you've moved it, I need you to do something else. Name it. Get your family out of town, somewhere Marcus can't reach them, somewhere safe. He's going to notice. I know, that's why you're doing it. I need Marcus to know something's wrong. I need him rattled. Tommy was quiet. You're starting a war. I'm finishing one they started. When? Soon. Maybe a week, maybe less. Just be ready. Boss, I gotta ask. How do I know this is really you? How do I know this isn't some test Marcus is running? Fair question. Remember Detroit? 4 years ago, the warehouse fire. You and me, we got trapped on the 2nd floor. I told you something while we waited for the fire department. Something I never told anyone else. Silence. Then Tommy laughed, short and sharp. Yeah, okay, it's you. Jesus Christ, it's really you. It's me. Now move that money and get your family safe. I'll be in touch. He hung up before Tommy could respond. Inside, Vincent and Mara were cleaning dishes. Mara looked at him when he entered. Well, she asked, Phase 1 starts tomorrow. What's Phase 1? Bleeding them dry. Vincent smiled. Now you're thinking like a survivor. That night, Adrian lay in the twin bed staring at the ceiling. Across the room, Mara's breathing was steady. Not quite sleep, but close. You awake? He asked quietly. Yeah. You don't have to stay. This gets worse before it gets better. You could walk away, start over somewhere new. Could you? No. Then why would I? Because it's not your fight. She rolled over to face him, just a shadow in the dark. They were going to kill me. They talked about it like ordering takeout. That made it my fight. Fair enough. More silence. Then Mara said, Can I ask you something? Sure. When this is over, if we survive, what happens to us? Adrian didn't have an answer. The future felt like fog, thick, impenetrable. He could barely see tomorrow, let alone whatever came after. I don't know, he said honestly. I guess we'll figure it out when we get there. And if we don't get there? Then it won't matter. She laughed softly. You're not very comforting. Never been accused of that. Good. I don't need comfort. I just need honesty. Then honestly, I have no idea what happens next. But whatever it is, we face it together. That's all I got. That's enough. She rolled back over. Within minutes, her breathing deepened into actual sleep. Adrian stayed awake longer, mind turning over plans and contingencies and the 1,000 ways this could all go wrong. Somewhere in Chicago, Marcus and Elena were sleeping in his bed, counting his money, living his life. They thought they'd won. Let them think it. Dead men didn't need sleep. They just needed patience. And Adrian Wolfe had nothing but time. 3 days later, Marcus Chen realized something was wrong. He stood in Adrian's office, his office now, staring at financial reports that didn't add up. The Southside accounts were bleeding money. Not catastrophically, not enough to trigger immediate alarms, but steady, consistent, like someone had opened a vein and was letting it drain slow. Run it again, he told the analyst hovering by the desk. The kid, some finance major from Northwestern who thought working for a legitimate import-export business would look good on his resume, tapped frantically at his laptop. Sir, I've run it 3 times. The transfers are legitimate. Operational expenses, supplier payments, standard distributions. To who? Different vendors. All registered, all with proper documentation. Marcus leaned over the laptop, scanning the columns of numbers. Something itched at the back of his brain. These transfers looked right on paper, but the timing felt off. Too regular, too clean. Pull up Tommy Vega's access logs. More tapping. Here, he's made 17 transfers in the last 72 hours. 17. Yes, sir. All within his authorization limits. Nothing that would flag the system. Marcus straightened. Tommy Vega, Southside Operations. One of Adrian's original crew, back when they were still fighting for territory in the neighborhoods nobody else wanted. Loyal to a fault. Or so everyone thought. Where's Tommy now? I don't know, sir. You want me to check with security? Do that. The analyst pulled out his phone, stepped away. Marcus turned to the window overlooking the Chicago skyline. 17 transfers. Small amounts that stayed under the automatic review threshold. Smart. Too smart for operational necessity. This was either embezzlement or something worse. The analyst returned, face pale. Sir, security says Tommy Vega called in sick yesterday. They went to check on him this morning. House is empty. Wife, kids, all gone. Neighbors say they saw them loading suitcases into a van around midnight. Marcus felt ice slide down his spine. When? 2 nights ago. The same night the transfers started accelerating. Get Elena in here. Now. The analyst practically ran out. Marcus stood at the window, mind working through scenarios. Tommy disappearing could mean anything. He got spooked, wanted out, took some money as severance. Happened sometimes. People got nervous when leadership changed, even when the change was this smooth. Except Tommy hadn't seemed nervous. He'd seemed suspicious, asking questions about the plane crash, wanting to see reports, requesting documentation. Marcus had chalked it up to old-timer sentimentality, grief over losing Adrian. Now he wasn't so sure. Elena swept in 10 minutes later wearing black, still playing the widow, even in private. She'd committed to the role so fully that Marcus sometimes wondered if she'd forgotten it was an act. What's so urgent? She asked, pouring herself scotch from the bar cart. Adrian's scotch. The expensive stuff he'd kept for clients. Tommy Vega's gone. She paused mid-pour. Gone where? If I knew that, I wouldn't have called you in here. He disappeared 2 nights ago with his family. Before he left, he moved about $200,000 out of the Southside accounts. That's nothing. Barely a dent. That's what worries me. If he was stealing, why take so little? Why be so careful about it? Elena finished pouring, took a long drink. Maybe he just wanted enough to disappear. Start over somewhere else. Tommy Vega has worked for this organization for 18 years. He's made millions off our operations. If he wanted to disappear with money, he could have taken 10 times that amount and been in Belize before we noticed. So what are you saying? Marcus turned from the window. I'm saying someone got to him. Someone convinced him to move money carefully, to not raise alarms. Someone who knows our systems well enough to exploit them. Adrian's dead. I know Adrian's dead. I'm the one who arranged it. Then who?
Marcus didn't answer because he didn't have one, but the timing bothered him.
3 days since Adrian's memorial announcement. 3 days since the world accepted that Adrian Wolfe was gone. And now suddenly Tommy Vega, loyal, predictable Tommy, was in the wind with Adrian's money. His phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. The king isn't dead, just sleeping. Marcus stared at the screen. Elena noticed his expression. What is it? He showed her the message. She read it twice, face draining of color. That's not possible, she said. Apparently it is. We saw the passenger manifest. Adrian Wolfe was on that plane. We confirmed it. We confirmed someone using his passport was on the plane, someone who matched his general description, but we never actually saw a body. Because there was no body. The plane went down in the Atlantic. They recovered pieces. That's all. Marcus pulled up the news coverage on his laptop. Passenger jet, Prague to Chicago, went down 300 miles off the coast. Search and rescue had recovered some debris, some luggage, but no bodies. The ocean was deep there. Cold. The news called it a tragedy. Marcus had called it an opportunity. Now he was calling it a problem. I want security doubled, he said. On this building, on the house, on every property we control. I want surveillance reviewed, all of it, going back a week. If Adrian somehow survived that crash, if he's out there somewhere planning something, I need to know. You're being paranoid.
I'm being careful. There's a difference. Elena set down her glass. Even if he did survive, so what? He's got nothing. No money, no muscle, no leverage. We control everything. His name is toxic now. Everyone thinks he's dead. If he surfaces, we just finish what the plane crash started. If it was that simple, why send the text? She had no answer for that.
Marcus called in his security chief, a former Marine named Richards who'd done 3 tours in Afghanistan before discovering private sector work paid better and asked fewer questions. I need you to find someone, Marcus said. Tommy Vega. Wife's name is Sophia. 3 kids, Michael, Lisa, and Rosa. They disappeared 2 nights ago from their home in Oak Park. I need to know where they went. Richards nodded, taking notes. Resources? Unlimited. Use whatever you need, but quiet. I don't want this making noise. Understood. Anything else? Marcus hesitated. Then, I need you to consider a possibility. A remote one, but possible. What if Adrian Wolfe is alive? To his credit, Richards didn't laugh or question. He just processed it. If he's alive and moving against us, he'd need resources, money, people, a safe location. We control his money. We're watching his people. That leaves location. He's got properties everywhere, which we're monitoring. If he tried to access any of them, we'd know. He'd have to be somewhere off the grid, somewhere we wouldn't think to look. Like where? Like with someone who owes him, someone outside our normal network. Marcus felt the pieces clicking together. Adrian had been in the business for 30 years. He'd made friends, made enemies, made deals across the entire Midwest. Somewhere in that history was someone who might take him in, hide him, help him. Pull his old files, Marcus said, going back to the beginning. Every alliance, every favor, every debt. If he's alive, he's calling one in. Richards left to make it happen. Elena poured herself more scotch. This is insane, she said. We're chasing ghosts. Maybe, but ghosts don't send text messages. Across town in Hammond, Adrian sat in Vincent's basement going through Tommy's transfer records on a laptop Vincent's nephew had scrubbed clean of any identifying markers. The money was moving exactly as planned, small chunks into distributed accounts that Marcus would eventually discover, but not yet. Not for another few days at least. Mara came down the stairs carrying sandwiches and coffee. She'd cut her hair short, dyed at auburn. Different glasses, different clothes. She looked like a completely different person. Transformation through necessity. Eating, she said, setting the plate down. Vincent's orders. Vincent's bossy. Vincent's keeping us alive. Adrian took a sandwich, bit into it without tasting. His focus was on the screen, on the patterns emerging from the data. Marcus was smart but predictable. He'd respond to the Tommy situation exactly how Adrian would have responded. Increase security, review surveillance, hunt for answers, which meant he'd pull resources from other areas, which created openings. Phase 2 starts tonight, Adrian said. What's Phase 2? Diane Reese, my accountant. She's been stalling Marcus on the overseas transfers. I need to get to her before he loses patience. She's being watched. Everyone's being watched. We just need to be smarter about it. Mara sat on the basement stairs eating her own sandwich. How do you reach someone who's under 24-hour surveillance? You don't reach them. You make them reach you. Adrian pulled up another screen, Diane's personal email, which he still had access to through backdoors he'd installed years ago. Marcus didn't know about the backdoors. Nobody did. Adrian had learned early that trust was useful, but verification was survival. He composed a message. Simple, clean, nothing that would flag monitoring software. Remember Denver? The audit that never happened? Same principle applies now. Check the place we celebrated after. Instructions inside. He sent it to her personal account, the one she used for online shopping and cat videos. Not her work email. Not anything Marcus would think to monitor closely. What's in Denver? Mara asked. Nothing. 5 years ago, Diane caught an embezzlement scheme in one of our front companies. Could have been catastrophic if it went public. She buried it, saved us millions. We celebrated at this steakhouse downtown. I bought her a very expensive dinner and gave her a very expensive bonus. And the instructions? There's a safety deposit box at a bank near that steakhouse. I put something in it 3 years ago. Emergency protocols, account numbers, contacts. I told Diane about it back then and said if anything ever happened to me, that box would help her navigate the aftermath. You were planning for this? I was planning for everything. Upstairs, Vincent was on the phone with one of his contacts. Adrian could hear fragments through the floor. Low conversation, careful questions. Vincent had called in a lot of favors over the past few days. Eventually, those favors would run out, or worse, word would get back to Marcus that someone was asking about Adrian Wolfe's organization. Time was a resource they were burning fast. Mara finished her sandwich, stood. I want to help more. Not just bringing food and changing my hair. Actually help. You are helping. I'm hiding. There's a difference. Adrian looked at her. 3 days ago, she'd been a maid cleaning his house. Now she was sitting in a basement planning corporate espionage and talking about revenge like she'd been in the game her whole life. People changed when survival required it. Sometimes they changed into someone better. What do you want to do? He asked. I want to go after Elena. Why Elena? Because Marcus is the strategist. He's the one running the operation, making the smart plays. But Elena is the face, the legitimacy. She's the one making this whole thing believable to the outside world. If we crack her, the whole facade comes down. I'm listening. Mara pulled out her phone, a new burner Vincent had provided. I worked in that house for 6 months. I know things about her, small things, habits, secrets, the kind of stuff she'd never think a maid would notice or care about. Like what? Like the fact that she's been having an affair for the last 8 months. Adrian went very still. With who? I don't know his name, but I saw them together, twice, once at the house when you were in New York. Once at a hotel downtown when I was running errands. He's younger, drives a Tesla, wears expensive watches. Marcus? No, someone else. Someone she's keeping separate from all this. Adrian processed that. Elena having an affair didn't surprise him. Their marriage had been more alliance than romance for years, but the timing mattered. 8 months ago, before Prague, before the plane crash, before any of this went public, which meant the affair predated the conspiracy, or ran parallel to it. You're sure about this? He asked. Positive, and there's more. I know where they meet, same hotel, same room, every Tuesday afternoon. Today's Wednesday. Right, which means if the pattern holds, they'll meet again in 6 days. Adrian felt something shift. This wasn't just useful information. This was leverage. Elena's carefully constructed widow performance would shatter if evidence of an affair went public. The sympathy she was building, the legitimacy she provided to Marcus's takeover, all of it would crumble. We need proof, Adrian said. Photos, video, something concrete. I can get it. No, too dangerous. If Marcus's people spot you, they won't. I look completely different now, and I know that hotel. I used to pick up Elena's dry cleaning from there. The staff knows me. Or knew me. I can get in, set up a camera, get out. Mara, you said I wasn't invisible to you. Prove it. Let me do this. Adrian wanted to say no.
wanted to keep her in the basement where it was safe, where she couldn't get hurt or killed because of his war. But Mara was right. She wasn't invisible. She was capable, smart, and willing to take risks. Treating her like she needed protection was just another way of making her nothing. "Okay," he said, "but we do it careful. We plan every step.
And the first sign of trouble, you abort. Deal?"
Deal." Vincent came downstairs then, phone still in hand. His expression was grim.
"We've got a problem," he said. "Marcus put out word on the street. He's looking for Adrian Wolfe, offering $100,000 for information leading to his location." "He can't seriously think I'm alive," Adrian said. "Maybe not. But he's covering his bases. And $100,000 is enough money to make people look hard. My contacts are solid, but everyone has a price. We need to move faster before someone decides that price is right." Adrian stood, pacing the cramped basement. Everything was accelerating. The careful, methodical approach he'd planned was collapsing into urgency. Marcus was smarter than Adrian had hoped, more paranoid than expected. Which made sense. He'd learned from the best. "How long before Diane checks her email?" Mara asked. "Could be hours, could be days. She's careful." "Then we need a backup plan, something faster." Vincent crossed his arms. "What about the memorial?" Adrian stopped pacing. "What about it?" "It's in 2 days. Friday night. Big event at that gallery downtown, the one Elena loves. Everyone who's anyone in your organization will be there. Press, cameras, the whole performance. Your point? Your point is that if you want to crack Elena's facade, if you want to rattle Marcus, if you want to remind everyone that you're not actually dead, what better place than your own funeral? The idea was insane, suicidal. Walking into a building full of people who thought you were dead, half of whom wanted you dead for real, with no backup and no exit strategy. Adrian loved it. "They'd kill me the second I walked in," he said. "Not if you did it right. Not if you controlled the narrative. You show up at the right moment, in front of the right people, with the right evidence. They can't just shoot you. Not with witnesses, not with cameras." Marcus would find a way. Maybe. But he'd have to scramble. And when people scramble, they make mistakes. Mara was nodding. "It's bold, probably stupid, but it might work." Adrian thought about it. The memorial was Elena's show, her moment to shine as the grieving widow. Marcus would be there, playing the loyal lieutenant, holding everything together. Every lieutenant, every partner, every contact who mattered would attend. It was a stage, and Adrian had always understood the value of a good stage. "We'd need proof," he said. "Real, undeniable proof that Marcus and Elena conspired to kill me. Without that, I'm just a ghost crashing his own funeral." "The transfers," Mara said, "Tommy's money movements. If we can show they started before you were officially dead, that proves premeditation." "Not enough. Marcus can claim Tommy went rogue, that he was embezzling. We need something that ties directly to Elena and Marcus planning my death." Vincent scratched his jaw. "What about recordings? You had security cameras all over that house." "Marcus would have scrubbed them. Maybe not all of them. You're a paranoid bastard, Adrian. You telling me you didn't have hidden cameras, the kind even your security chief didn't know about?" Adrian felt a slow smile spread across his face. "There might be one or two." "Where?" "Master bedroom. Hidden in the smoke detector. Battery-powered, cloud backup. I installed it myself 5 years ago after Elena's sister visited and I thought she might be stealing jewelry." "Was she?" "No, but the camera's still there." "And if Elena and Marcus were planning this together, where do you think they had those conversations?" Mara stood. "We need to access that cloud account. Get the footage from the night before you came home. Maybe earlier." "The account's secured. Multiple authentication, passwords that change daily." "But you set it up, which means you know the backup protocols." Adrian did. The system was designed to be unbreachable from the outside but accessible to him in emergencies. This qualified. He spent the next hour breaking into his own security system, navigating layers of encryption he'd personally designed. It was like picking a lock he'd built, difficult but possible if you knew where the weak points were. Finally, the files loaded. Days and days of footage, time-stamped and organized. Adrian scrolled back to 6 days ago, the night before his early return from Prague. The bedroom appeared on screen, empty at first. Then Elena entered, phone pressed to her ear. She was laughing, relaxed. She sat on the bed, their bed, and kicked off her shoes. I know. It's almost over. Her voice was clear through the camera's audio. The plane leaves tomorrow. By this time next week, we'll have everything. A pause while she listened to whoever was on the other end. Of course, I'm sure. Marcus confirmed the manifest. Adrian's seat, Adrian's passport. The device is already on board. It's foolproof. Adrian's hands clenched into fists. Device. She'd said device. Not bomb, that would have been too obvious. But something that would bring down a plane and make it look like mechanical failure. Elena laughed again. Don't worry about the maid. Marcus has a list. Everyone who might ask questions gets handled. Clean, professional. By the time anyone realizes what happened, it'll be too late to matter. More listening. Then, I'll miss you too. But we have to be careful until this is done. After the memorial, after everything settles, we can be together. Really, together, I promise. She hung up. Sat there for a moment, smile fading into something harder. Then she stood and left the room. Adrian stopped the playback. That's it, Mara breathed. That's everything. She admits to the plane, to the list, to the conspiracy. And she's talking to someone who's not Marcus, Vincent added. The lover maybe, which means there's another player we don't know about. Adrian was already copying the file, creating multiple backups across different servers. This was gold. Evidence that could destroy Elena's grieving widow act and implicate her in conspiracy to commit murder. With this, he could go to the authorities, could blow the whole thing open. Except the authorities wouldn't believe a dead man. And by the time he proved he was alive, Marcus would have destroyed the evidence and killed everyone who mattered. No, this had to be done his way. Public. Undeniable. At the memorial. We need a plan, Adrian said. A real one. Step by step, everything accounted for. They spent the rest of the day and most of the night building it. Vincent contributed tactical knowledge, entrances, exits, sight lines. Mara added details about the gallery, about Elena's habits, about where people would be positioned. Adrian brought it all together, looking for holes, for weak points, for the 1,000 things that could go wrong. By dawn, they had something that might work. It required perfect timing, absolute nerve, and more than a little luck. It also required Adrian to walk into a building full of enemies with nothing but the truth and hope that truth was enough. You know this is crazy, Vincent said as the sun came up. Yeah. You know you might die. Yeah. And you're doing it anyway. Yeah, Vincent smiled. Okay then, let's crash a funeral. Diane Reese checked her email Thursday morning and found Adrian's message waiting. She read it 3 times, heart pounding, before deleting it and clearing her browser history. Then she called in sick to work, drove to Denver's financial district, and accessed a safety deposit box she'd been told about years ago but never expected to use. Inside was a burner phone, cash, and a note with instructions. She read the note, burned it in her car ashtray. Then she made a call. Mr. Wolfe? Her voice shook. Diane, you got my message. I thought you were dead. I get that a lot lately. Listen, I don't have much time. Marcus is going to move on the overseas accounts tomorrow. I need you to delay him. I've been delaying him. He's getting suspicious. Good. Keep him off balance. And I need something else. Financial records. Everything showing movement of my assets over the last week. Every transfer, every sale, every account that's been touched. That's a lot of data. Can you get it? Yes. But if Marcus finds out, he won't. Not until it's too late. Send everything to the email address on that phone. Then disappear for 48 hours. Take your family somewhere safe. Adrian, what's happening? I'm taking back what's mine, and I need you to trust me one more time. Silence. Then, I've trusted you for 12 years. No reason to stop now. Thank you. He hung up before she could ask more questions. Within an hour, encrypted files started arriving. Spreadsheets, transaction records, account statements, everything Marcus and Elena had done to dismantle his empire, all laid out in black and white. Adrian forwarded it all to a journalist he'd cultivated years ago, someone who owed him for a story that had made her career. The email was simple. Hold this until Friday night, after the memorial, then run with it. Her response came fast. What am I looking at? The truth. Just trust me. Friday arrived cold and gray. Adrian stood in Vincent's bathroom, shaving with a straight razor, watching his reflection. The man in the mirror looked older than he remembered, harder, like something had been burned away and what remained was tempered steel. Mara knocked, entered. She wore a black dress borrowed from Vincent's daughter's closet, hair pinned up, makeup careful. She looked sophisticated, dangerous. "Ready?" she asked. "No." "Me neither." Vincent appeared behind her, holding something wrapped in cloth. He unwrapped it to reveal a Glock 19, clean, untraceable, fully loaded. "Just in case," Vincent said. Adrian took it, checked the chamber, tucked it into the holster at his back. He hoped he wouldn't need it, but hope wasn't a strategy. They drove to Chicago in Vincent's old Cadillac, the one with tinted windows and no GPS. The city appeared through afternoon light, skyline sharp against winter clouds. Somewhere in those buildings, Marcus was preparing for the memorial. Elena was rehearsing her tears. His empire was operating without him, machinery he'd built now running on someone else's fuel. The gallery was in River North, all glass and modern architecture. Inside, workers were setting up, flowers, photos of Adrian, a podium for speeches. His life reduced to decoration. "They're starting setup at 5, Mara said, checking her phone. "Event starts at 7. "You're planning to arrive when?" 7:30, after everyone's inside, after Elena's made her entrance, right when Marcus thinks everything's under control. "And if security stops you at the door?" "They won't, because you'll already be inside making sure they don't." Mara had a key card, the one she'd kept from her time working for Elena, never turned in, forgotten in the chaos of her disappearance. It would get her through the service entrance. From there, she'd disable the security cameras in the main hall, create blind spots, clear a path. It was a terrible plan, full of variables they couldn't control, but it was the only plan they had. Vincent parked 3 blocks away. "Last chance to change your mind." "Not changing my mind." "Didn't think so." Vincent reached across, gripped Adrian's shoulder. "You did right by me 15 years ago. Now we're even. But after tonight, if you survive, you call me. We'll get a beer. Talk about anything except empires and revenge." "Deal." Mara leaned forward from the back seat. "If I don't make it—" "You'll make it," Adrian said. "But if I don't, I want you to know something. These last few days, being part of this, mattering to someone, it's the most alive I've felt since I was 12 years old. So thank you for that." Adrian turned to face her. "You're going to make it. We both are. And when this is done, you're not going back to being invisible. I promise you that." "Okay." She smiled, scared but determined. "Okay." She got out of the car, disappeared into the Chicago crowd. Just another person in black heading to just another event. Vincent and Adrian sat in silence, watching the gallery. Cars started arriving. Town cars, expensive sedans, people in dark suits and designer dresses. Chicago's elite, coming to pay respects to a man most of them had feared. Adrian's phone buzzed. Text from Mara. "I'm in. Camera's going dark in 10 minutes. This was it. The moment where everything either worked or fell apart spectacularly. Adrian checked the Glock one more time. Checked the flash drive in his pocket containing the bedroom footage. Checked his reflection in the side mirror. The dead man stared back. "Let's go," he said. Vincent drove away as Adrian walked toward the gallery. Each step felt measured, deliberate, like crossing a bridge that might collapse. The cold bit through his jacket. Not Adrian's usual $2,000 cashmere, but something off the rack from a Hammond department store. Different clothes, different walk, different man, or maybe the same man with nothing left to lose. The gallery's front entrance blazed with light. Photographers clustered outside, catching arrivals. Adrian recognized faces through the glass. Business partners, city officials, people who'd made fortunes off his connections and were now here to mourn him publicly while celebrating privately. Vultures in designer suits. He circled to the service entrance where Mara had entered 30 minutes ago. The door was propped open with a wooden wedge. Sloppy security, but intentional. Mara's work. Inside, the back hallway was fluorescent lit and ugly, the kind of space expensive venues hid from paying guests. Adrian moved through it like he belonged there, past storage rooms and electrical panels. A caterer rushed past, carrying champagne flutes, didn't even glance his way. His phone buzzed. "Mara. Main hall cameras down.
You've got maybe 5 minutes before someone notices. Northwest corner has the clearest path to the stage. Adrian pocketed the phone and pushed through a door marked Staff Only. The memorial was exactly what Elena would have designed: tasteful, expensive, calculated to impress. Huge photos of Adrian decorated the walls, moments from his life carefully curated to tell a story. Adrian Wolfe shaking hands with the mayor. Adrian Wolfe at charity galas. Adrian Wolfe looking powerful, untouchable, immortal. All lies, but pretty ones. The crowd was maybe 200 people, all dressed in black, all wearing appropriate expressions of grief. Adrian spotted Elena immediately. She stood near the front in a dress that probably cost more than most people's cars, accepting condolences from a senator whose campaign Adrian had funded 3 years ago. She looked devastating, fragile, perfectly broken. Marcus stood 20 feet away, scanning the room with eyes that missed nothing. He'd positioned security at every exit. Adrian counted 6 men he recognized from his own payroll, now working for the person who'd tried to kill him. Richards, the security chief, stood near the podium looking tense. Adrian stayed in the shadows, watching, waiting. On stage, a string quartet played something somber and forgettable. A table held a guest book, flowers, a framed photo of Adrian looking distinguished, his whole life reduced to props. Someone approached the podium. Jonathan Drake, Adrian's lawyer, or former lawyer. The man who'd helped build the legal framework for everything Adrian had accomplished, now probably helping Marcus dismantle it. "Thank you all for coming," Drake's voice carried through the sound system. "We're here tonight to remember Adrian Wolfe, a visionary, a leader, a man who shaped this city in ways many of us are only beginning to understand." Adrian's jaw tightened. The hypocrisy was stunning. Drake continued. Adrian was many things to many people. To some, a business partner. To others, a mentor. To his beloved wife, Elena, a devoted husband whose loss has left a void that can never be filled. Elena dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. The performance was flawless. Before we hear from Elena herself, I'd like to invite Marcus Chen to say a few words. Marcus served as Adrian's right hand for over 2 decades, and no one knew him better. Applause as Marcus took the stage. He looked comfortable up there, like he'd been practicing. Probably had. "Thank you, Jonathan," Marcus paused, letting silence build. "Adrian Wolfe saved my life. Not metaphorically, literally. 23 years ago, I was nobody. A kid running packages in Chinatown, trying to survive in a world that didn't care if I lived or died. Adrian saw something in me, potential maybe, or just desperation that matched his own when he was starting out." The crowd was rapt. Marcus knew how to work a room. He gave me a chance, taught me everything. How to think strategically, how to build something that lasts, how to turn vision into reality. And when he died, Marcus's voice caught, perfectly timed. When he died, I promised myself I'd honor his legacy by continuing the work we started together, by making sure everything he built doesn't crumble just because he's gone. Adrian felt Vincent's gun press against his spine. The urge to walk up there and put a bullet through Marcus's lying mouth was almost overwhelming. But that wasn't the play. Not yet. "Adrian taught me that empire isn't about power," Marcus continued. "It's about responsibility. Every person who depends on us for their livelihood, every family we support, every community we serve, that's the real measure of success. And I swear to all of you, and to Adrian's memory, that I will uphold that responsibility. We will continue his work. We will honor his vision, and we will make damn sure that Adrian Wolfe's legacy lives forever." Applause. Long, genuine applause. Marcus had them, every single one. He stepped down, embraced Elena at the foot of the stage. She whispered something in his ear. He nodded, squeezed her hand. The gesture looked supportive, brotherly. Adrian knew better. That was the touch of conspirators confirming their lie was holding. Elena approached the podium. The room went silent. "I don't have Marcus's eloquence," she began, voice soft and breaking. "I don't have his strength. The last week has been the hardest of my life. Waking up every morning and remembering that Adrian is gone. That I'll never see him walk through the door, never hear his voice, never—" She stopped, overcome. Someone in the crowd, one of her charity friends, made a sympathetic sound. Adrian spotted Mara then. She stood near the bar, dressed as waitstaff, holding a tray of champagne glasses.
Their eyes met across the room. She gave the tiniest nod. It was time. Adrian stepped out of the shadows and started walking toward the stage. He moved through the crowd deliberately, not rushing, not hiding. People turned to look. At first, confusion. Then recognition dawning on faces like slow-motion explosions. A woman gasped. Then another. Heads turned. The murmur started low but built fast, a wave of shock rippling through the room. Elena looked up from the podium. Saw him. Her face went white, then red, cycling through expressions too fast to control. The handkerchief fell from her hand. Marcus turned. For maybe 3 seconds, he just stared. Then his hand moved toward his jacket, toward a weapon Adrian knew he carried. "I wouldn't," Adrian said, loud enough to carry. He pulled his own jacket aside, showing the Glock. Not with this many witnesses. Richards and the security team started moving, but Marcus raised a hand, stopping them. His face had gone carefully blank, calculating odds and options. Adrian reached the stage, climbed the steps. 200 people watched in absolute silence. Even the string quartet had stopped playing. "Sorry I'm late," Adrian said into the microphone. His voice boomed through the speakers, filling the gallery. "Apparently I missed my own funeral. Traffic was hell." Someone in the crowd laughed nervously, then caught themselves. Elena found her voice. "Adrian, this isn't possible. You were on the plane. The manifest—" "I was supposed to be on the plane," Adrian interrupted. "That's true. But I came home early, remember? The deal in Prague fell through. I caught an earlier flight. Walked into our house about 12 hours before you thought I'd be dead." He turned to address the room. "And you know what I found? My wife and my most trusted friend dividing up my empire like I was already buried. Planning which properties to sell, which accounts to liquidate. Making decisions about my life's work while I stood in a closet listening to every word." The silence was total now. Absolute. Marcus stepped closer to the stage, voice low and dangerous. "You're making quite an accusation." "I'm stating facts. Want to hear more?" Adrian pulled out the flash drive. "I've got recordings, conversations from my bedroom, Elena planning my death, talking about devices on planes and cleaning up loose ends. All very incriminating." "That's—" Elena started. "The truth?" Adrian finished. "Yeah, I know. Must be shocking for you." Drake, the lawyer, moved forward. "Adrian, if this is some kind of breakdown, if the stress of business has—" "I'm not having a breakdown, Jonathan. I'm very sane. Probably more sane than I've been in years. Turns out almost dying gives you clarity." Marcus had recovered his composure. His face was calm, almost amused. "Okay, let's say any of this is true. Let's say you really did survive by pure luck. You realize what you've done by coming here? Crashed my own funeral, created a scene, probably going viral on social media right now." Adrian gestured to the crowd where phones had appeared, recording everything. "Seems like a good start." "I mean, you've shown your hand too early. You think these people what—" Marcus swept his arm at the crowd. "Care about recordings? About what Elena said in private? These aren't moral crusaders, Adrian. They're business people. They care about stability, continuity. And right now you represent chaos. Maybe. Or maybe they care about not being accessories to murder." That landed. Adrian saw it in faces throughout the room. The shift from shock to calculation. People realizing they needed to pick sides fast, needed to figure out which version of reality was safer to believe. The mayor's chief of staff was already on his phone. 2 city councilmen were edging toward exits. The vultures were scattering. Elena recovered her voice, and with it, her performance. "Adrian, please. If you're really alive, if this is really you, thank heaven. I've been devastated. We all have. But these accusations are true. Every word, and I can prove it." "No," Marcus said flatly. "You can't. Because even if those recordings exist, even if they say what you claim, it doesn't matter. You've been legally dead for a week. Every transfer we made, every decision was lawful. We were managing your estate according to your own succession protocols. Nothing criminal about that. Except the part where you tried to kill me. Did I? Where's your proof? A private conversation between a grieving widow and her confidant? That's not proof of attempted murder. That's grief processing. That's shock. Any lawyer worth their fee could argue that away." Adrian felt the control slipping. Marcus was right. The recordings were damning, but not decisive. Not legally. Not enough to put either of them in prison. But they were enough to destroy the facade. And that's what mattered. "You're right," Adrian said. "The recordings alone won't put you away. But they'll raise questions. And once people start asking questions, everything unravels. Where did the money go? Who authorized what? Which transfers were legitimate and which were theft?" The FBI loves questions like that. Tends to lead to audits, investigations, the kind that expose everything. Marcus's expression flickered, just for a moment, just enough. "And even if you survive the legal scrutiny," Adrian continued, "you'll never survive the loss of confidence. Our business, our world, runs on trust, on reputation. And right now, in front of everyone who matters, you're being exposed as someone who betrayed his partner, someone who planned a murder. Do you really think people will work with you after tonight? Will they trust you with their money, their secrets, their lives?" The room was starting to fracture. Adrian could see it, groups forming, people gravitating toward doors, away from Marcus and Elena. The smart ones were getting distance before the collapse. Richards moved to Marcus's side, whispered something urgent. Marcus listened, face hardening. "If you're going to shoot me," Adrian said conversationally, "you should probably do it now. In about 30 seconds, this whole event will be on every news site in the country. Killing me becomes a lot harder once I'm famous for being alive." Marcus smiled, actually smiled. "I'm not going to shoot you, Adrian. That would be crude, unprofessional. The old you would have been disappointed. Then what? Then I'm going to walk out of here. Elena and I are going to leave together. And tomorrow morning, our lawyers will issue a statement explaining that you've clearly suffered a psychological breakdown, that the stress of recent events has compromised your mental state, and that while we're grateful you survived the crash, it's clear you need help. Medical help. Psychiatric evaluation. The kind that happens in secure facilities." Adrian felt ice settle in his chest. It was a good play. Maybe the only play that could work. Discredit him not as a liar, but as someone damaged, someone whose mind couldn't be trusted. "You'll never get me into a facility." "Won't I? You're making wild accusations, claiming conspiracies, waving a gun around at a memorial service. That's textbook breakdown behavior. A judge would sign the commitment papers by noon." Elena moved beside Marcus, finding her footing again. "Adrian, please, let us help you. You've been through trauma, the crash, the confusion. It's affected your judgment. Let us get you the care you need." The unified front. The concerned spouse and loyal friend worried about their partner's mental health. It would play perfectly in court, in the media, everywhere that mattered. Adrian had underestimated them, again. But he'd also prepared for this. "That's a great plan," Adrian said. "Really solid, except for one problem." "What's that?" Marcus asked. "Diane Reese." Marcus went very still. "My accountant," Adrian continued. "The one who's been stalling you on the overseas transfers. The one who knows every account, every transaction, every dollar that's moved in the last week. She sent everything to a journalist 3 hours ago. Financial records showing exactly how you've been dismantling my empire, how you started moving money before I was even officially dead, how you've been stealing from your own partner while pretending to honor his memory." "That proves nothing," Elena said, but her voice wavered. "It proves premeditation. It proves you didn't wait for me to die. You started carving things up before my body was even cold." Combined with the recordings, it paints a pretty clear picture. And the best part? The journalist is sitting on the story right now, waiting for my signal. If I walk out of here free and healthy, the story stays buried. But if something happens to me, if I end up in a facility, if I have an accident, if I mysteriously disappear, it all goes public. Every transaction, every conversation, every crime. Adrian pulled out his phone. "One text and your life becomes a federal investigation. So here's what's going to happen. You and Elena are going to leave. You're going to disappear from my business, my properties, my life. You're going to take whatever money you've already stolen and run. And in exchange, I don't press charges. I don't send the text. I let you go." "That's generous," Marcus said dryly. "It's pragmatic. I don't want revenge anymore. I want my empire back. You walking away gives me that. You fighting me destroys us both." Marcus looked at Elena. Some unspoken conversation passed between them. Then he turned back to Adrian. You really think it's that simple? That we just walk away and everything goes back to normal? Nothing goes back to normal, but we both survive. That's more than most people get in our world. The crowd was watching like spectators at a tennis match. Back and forth, offer and counteroffer, two predators circling each other trying to find advantage. Finally, Marcus nodded, slight, barely perceptible. Okay, we'll go. But I need one thing first. What? Proof that the story's real, that this journalist actually exists and isn't just a bluff. Adrian pulled up his phone, showed Marcus the email thread with timestamps. Satisfied? Marcus studied it, then pulled out his own phone and made a call. Richards, stand down. We're leaving. To the room, he said, Ladies and gentlemen, it seems there's been a misunderstanding. Adrian is clearly alive, clearly in control. This memorial was premature. We apologize for the confusion and thank you for coming. He offered Elena his arm. She took it, still pale but composed. Together they walked toward the exit. The crowd parted for them like water. At the door, Marcus stopped, turned back. One more thing, Adrian. That journalist? She's good. I know her work. She won't sit on that story forever. Eventually, she'll get curious. She'll start asking why you don't want it published. And when she does, she'll realize you're hiding something too. Whatever you did to build this empire, it's all in those financial records. Every bribe, every illegal transaction, every criminal enterprise. You burn us, you burn yourself. Adrian felt the trap close. Marcus was right. The financial records were a weapon aimed at both of them, mutually assured destruction. Then I guess we both have motivation to stay quiet, Adrian said. I guess we do. Marcus left. Elena followed. The door closed behind them. For a long moment, nobody in the gallery moved. Then someone started clapping. Slow at first, then building. Within seconds, the whole room was applauding. Not for Marcus, for Adrian, for the man who'd come back from the dead. Adrian stepped down from the stage, exhausted. The adrenaline was draining fast, leaving him hollowed out. Jonathan Drake approached, lawyer's smile in place. Adrian, that was quite a performance. If you need representation for any legal complications arising from tonight, I'll call you. Adrian lied. He'd never trust Drake again, never trust any of them. He pushed through the crowd looking for Mara, found her near the kitchen entrance, still in her waitress disguise. We need to go, she said quietly. Security's calling the police. They'll have questions. Let them question. I'm alive. I'm back. They can't do anything. They can detain you, and once you're in custody, who knows what Marcus can arrange. She was right. Again. They left through the service entrance, emerging into cold Chicago night. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Adrian and Mara walked fast, but didn't run. Running looked guilty. Vincent's Cadillac waited 3 blocks away, exactly where they'd left it. Vincent sat behind the wheel, engine running. How'd it go? He asked as they piled in. We're alive, Adrian said. That's something. Marcus? Gone. For now. Vincent pulled into traffic. For now isn't forever. I know. They drove in silence back toward Hammond. Chicago's lights faded behind them, replaced by industrial darkness and highway nothing. Adrian watched it all blur past, mind working through what came next. He'd won. Sort of. Marcus and Elena were gone, discredited if not destroyed. He'd reclaimed his life, his identity, his right to exist. But the empire was damaged, maybe beyond repair. People had seen the cracks. They'd seen the betrayal, trust, the foundation everything was built on, was gone. Maybe that was okay. Maybe empire was overrated. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Impressive performance tonight. But you should know, Marcus didn't plan this alone. There's someone else, someone you haven't considered. Watch your back. A friend. Adrian stared at the message. Elena's lover. The voice on the recording. The mystery player he hadn't identified. Someone else was still out there. What is it? Mara asked, reading his expression. Adrian showed her the text. She read it, face tightening. So it's not over. It's never over. Not really. There's always another threat, another betrayal waiting. Then what do we do? Adrian looked at her. This girl who'd saved his life, who'd stood beside him through everything, who'd proven herself more loyal than people he'd known for decades. We survive, he said. Same as always. But this time we do it smarter, smaller, with people we can actually trust. That's a short list. Shortest I've ever had. But maybe that's the point. Vincent pulled into his driveway. The house was dark, quiet, safe. Inside they could rest, plan, figure out what came next. But first Adrian made a call. To Diane Reese. It's done, he said when she answered. Marcus is gone. You can come back. Are we safe? Her voice was small, scared. Safer than we were. But Diane, I need you to do something. That financial data you sent to the journalist, I need you to send it somewhere else too. Multiple places. Insurance. Against what? Against whoever's still out there. Whoever helped Marcus that we haven't found yet. Silence. Then, okay, I'll do it tonight. Thank you. Adrian, I'm glad you're alive. Me too. He hung up and found Mara watching him. You really don't know who the other person is? She asked. No idea. Could be anyone, someone in the organization, someone outside it, someone we've never even met. That's terrifying. Yeah. They went inside. Vincent had coffee brewing, sandwiches made, simple food that tasted better than anything Adrian remembered from his mansion. So what now? Vincent asked. You going back to Chicago? Reclaiming the throne? Adrian thought about that. The office that used to be his, the house that used to be home, the empire that used to define him. No, he said, not yet. Maybe not ever. I need to rebuild, but different, smaller. I need to figure out who I can trust and build from there. Starting with us? Mara asked. Starting with you two. And maybe Tommy Vega if I can find him. And Diane. That's the core. That's what's real. 5 people isn't an empire, Vincent said. No, but it's a foundation. And right now, that's all I need. They ate in comfortable silence. Outside, the world kept turning. Marcus and Elena were somewhere planning their next move. The mystery conspirator was watching, waiting. The authorities would have questions. The business would have problems. Everything was complicated and dangerous and uncertain, but Adrian Wolfe was alive. Against all odds, against every plan to bury him, he'd survived. And survival, he was learning, was its own kind of victory. His phone buzzed again. Another message. This one from the journalist. Stories ready to publish. Just say the word. Adrian stared at it. One word and Marcus's life ended. Elena's reputation shattered. Everything they'd tried to build on his corpse would crumble. But it would also expose him. Everything he'd done, every crime, every compromise. The empire would fall completely. No rebuilding, just ruins. Mutually assured destruction. He typed back, hold it indefinitely. I'll let you know if that changes. Her response, your funeral was very interesting tonight. I was there, saw everything. Hell of a story either way. Adrian smiled despite himself. She was good, probably already writing it, just waiting for the right moment. What are you smiling about? Mara asked. Just thinking that I've spent 30 years building something that almost killed me, and now I'm starting over with nothing but a maid, a guy who owed me a favor, and an accountant who's probably regretting every decision that led her here. Don't forget the journalist who could destroy you, Vincent added. Right, can't forget her. So why are you smiling? Adrian set down his phone. Because for the first time in decades, I actually know who my friends are. That's worth more than any empire. Mara raised her coffee cup. To small circles and shorter lists. To survival, Vincent added. Adrian clinked his cup against theirs. To whatever comes next. They drank. Outside, sirens wailed somewhere in the distance, police chasing problems that weren't theirs. Inside Vincent's small house in Hammond, 3 people who'd survived the impossible sat together in warm light, planning tomorrow without knowing if tomorrow would come. But that was life. That was always life. You survived today. Tomorrow was someone else's problem. And Adrian Wolfe, twice dead, twice returned, was very good at surviving. The mystery unraveled 3 days later, not through investigation, but through arrogance. Adrian was in Vincent's garage, working on the Cadillac's engine because he needed something to do with his hands, when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Yeah? Mr. Wolfe. A man's voice. Young,
confident, unfamiliar. We should talk. Who is this? Someone who's been watching your little resurrection very closely. Someone who knows things you don't. Things about Marcus.
About Elena, about how deep this really goes. Adrian straightened, wiping grease from his hands. I'm listening. Not on the phone. In person. There's a coffee shop on Clark Street. Lucia's. You know it? He did. Small place, always crowded. Good for meetings that needed to look accidental. When? 1 hour, come alone. And Mr. Wolfe? I know you'll bring backup anyway. Just keep them outside. This conversation needs to be private. The line went dead. Adrian stared at the phone, running scenarios. It could be a trap. Could be Marcus trying something desperate. Could be nothing. But the voice had mentioned things about how deep this goes, and that itch at the back of Adrian's brain, the one that had kept him alive this long, said this was the missing piece. He found Mara inside working on her laptop. Over the past few days, she'd become his de facto researcher, digging through public records and news archives, building profiles on everyone in his former organization. I need you to do something, Adrian said. She looked up. What? Come with me to Chicago, but stay in the car. Keep eyes on me through the window. Anything goes wrong, you call Vincent and the police. In that order. What's happening? He told her about the call. Her face tightened. This feels like a setup, probably, but I need to know who else was involved. This loose end will kill me if I don't tie it off. Then I'm coming inside with you. No. Adrian, no. If this goes bad, I need someone on the outside who knows what happened. Someone who can finish this if I can't. That's you. She didn't like it, but she grabbed her jacket. They drove to Chicago in silence, city rising through afternoon haze. Adrian parked 3 blocks from Lucia's, close enough to walk, far enough to give Mara a sightline through the shop's front windows. 30 minutes, he said. If I'm not out, or if you see anything wrong, make those calls. Be careful. Careful's gotten me this far. Lucia's was exactly as he remembered, cramped, loud, smelling like espresso and burnt toast. Every table occupied with students, freelancers, people living their small, normal lives. Adrian scanned faces, looking for threats. Saw none, which meant they were either very good or this was legitimate. A man in the corner raised his hand. Mid-30s, expensive haircut, designer glasses. He looked like every tech startup founder Adrian had ever met. Confident, overpaid, convinced the world revolved around him. Adrian sat across from him. Up close, the man's eyes held something harder than his appearance suggested. This wasn't some startup kid. This was someone who had seen things. Adrian Wolfe, the man said, extending his hand. Pleasure. I'm David Harmon. Adrian didn't shake. What do you want? Direct. I like that. Okay, straight to it. I've been working with Marcus Chen for the last 8 months. Financial consulting, strategic planning, helping him position for a leadership transition. You helped him plan my murder? No, I helped him plan succession logistics. I didn't know about the plane until it happened. But I figured it out pretty fast when Marcus started making moves before you were officially declared dead. And you didn't say anything. I'm a consultant, Mr. Wolfe, not a cop. My job is to help clients achieve their objectives, not judge those objectives. But what Marcus did crossed a line even I won't touch. Murder's bad for business. Makes people nervous. So I started gathering information. Insurance, you might say. Adrian leaned back. What kind of information? David pulled out a tablet, slid it across the table. On screen were financial records, different from what Diane had sent, showing accounts Adrian had never seen. Marcus has been skimming for 3 years, David said. Small amounts, perfectly hidden. He'd move money through shell companies, offshore accounts, cryptocurrencies. By the time you died, or were supposed to die, he'd accumulated about $40 million you didn't know existed. 40 million, give or take. Elena knew about some of it, but not all. Marcus had his own plans that didn't include sharing equally with your wife. Adrian scrolled through the records. The numbers were staggering. 3 years of systematic theft, hidden so well that even Diane hadn't caught it. Why show me this? Adrian asked. Because Marcus is about to disappear. He's got everything staged. Fake identities, properties in countries without extradition, the whole setup. He'll be gone within a week, taking that 40 million with him. And Elena will be left holding the bag when the authorities start asking questions about your empire's missing money. Elena betrayed me. Why would I care what happens to her? David smiled. You wouldn't, but you might care about getting that 40 million back. Money that's rightfully yours. Money Marcus stole while pretending to be your loyal friend. There it was, the real pitch. What's your angle? Adrian asked.
Why help me? I'm helping myself. Marcus hired me, paid me well, but he's going to vanish, and when he does, I lose a very lucrative client. Unless I position myself with new management, unless I prove my value to whoever takes over. You want to work for me. I want to work for whoever controls what you built. If that's you, great. If it's someone else, I'll work with them. I'm flexible. Adrian studied him. David Harmon was exactly the kind of operator Adrian had built his empire with. Smart, amoral, loyal only to opportunity. A younger version of Marcus, essentially, which meant he was useful and dangerous in equal measure. How do I access these accounts? Adrian asked. You don't, not directly. Marcus has them locked down tight, but I have something better, his passwords, his access codes, his entire digital footprint. He trusted me to help set up his escape. Didn't occur to him that I might copy everything first. You're a snake. I'm a professional. There's a difference. Adrian's phone buzzed. Text from Mara. 2 men just entered. Watching you, southeast corner. Adrian didn't look. Didn't need to. Your backup? David's smile faded. I came alone. Then Marcus knows about this meeting. That's not possible. I've been careful. You've been played. He probably suspected you'd flip, so he followed you here. Which means this conversation is about to get very interesting. David's face went pale. He started to stand. The 2 men from the corner moved fast. One blocked the exit. The other approached their table, hand inside his jacket. Adrian recognized him. Steve something worked Marcus's security detail, good at his job, which meant good at violence. Mr. Chen wants a word, Steve said quietly. Both of you, car's outside. I don't think so, Adrian replied. Steve's hand emerged holding a compact Beretta, small enough to hide, loud enough to kill. Wasn't a request. The coffee shop suddenly felt very small. People were still talking, still drinking coffee, oblivious to the gun 3 feet away. Adrian calculated odds. He was armed, but drawing in a crowded shop meant civilians dying. Steve knew that, counted on it. Outside, Steve repeated. Now. Adrian stood slowly. David followed, shaking. They moved toward the door, Steve behind them, his partner leading. The gun never showed, but Adrian felt it there, pressed against his spine through Steve's jacket. Outside, a black SUV idled at the curb, tinted windows, engine running. The partner opened the rear door. Marcus sat inside. Get in, he said. Adrian climbed in. David followed. Steve and his partner took the front seats. The doors locked with an expensive click. Marcus looked tired. Not scared, not angry. Just exhausted, like someone who'd run out of moves and was going through motions. I should have known you'd flip, David, Marcus said. You're too smart not to see which way this was going. Marcus, I wasn't... Don't insult me. I've been tracking your communications since the memorial. Knew you'd reach out to Adrian eventually. Honestly surprised it took this long. Adrian stayed quiet, watching. Marcus turned to him. You should have taken my deal. Should have let us walk away. But you couldn't help yourself, could you? Had to keep digging. Had to find every angle. You stole 40 million from me. I earned 40 million working for you. There's a difference. Every dollar I took, I replaced with effort, with loyalty, with making you richer than you ever would have been without me. I just wanted what was mine. By killing me. By removing an obstacle. You weren't going to retire, Adrian. You weren't going to step aside. I could have worked for you another 20 years and still been the hired help. So yeah, I created an opportunity, and it almost worked. Almost. Marcus smiled. Almost. But here we are. You alive, me on the run, everything falling apart. So now we need to have a real conversation. An honest one. I'm listening. That journalist you've got holding the financial records, she's going to publish. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but eventually. Journalists can't help themselves. The story's too good, too big.
When she does, everything comes out. Your crimes, my crimes, all of it. We both go to prison for the rest of our lives. Unless we make it worthless. Unless we destroy the empire completely, burn it so thoroughly that there's nothing left to investigate. No money to follow, no crimes to prosecute, no evidence to find. Just ashes. Adrian's throat tightened. You want me to help you destroy everything I built? I want us both to survive. Right now, we're holding each other hostage. You've got the recordings, I've got the stolen money. You publish, I make sure you go down with me. I run, you hunt me forever. We're deadlocked. But if we work together, if we dismantle this thing systematically and carefully, we both walk away. Different lives, different cities, but alive. What about Elena? Marcus's face hardened. Elena made her choice. She wanted the empire for herself. Thought she could control it without either of us. She was wrong. She's not part of this conversation. And David? David's a problem we'll solve together. After we agree. In the front seat, David made a small sound. Fear. He'd realized he wasn't leaving this car. Adrian looked at Marcus. Really looked. They'd been partners for 23 years. Brothers in everything but blood. They'd built something neither of them could have built alone. And now Marcus was asking him to destroy it. Together. One last collaboration before they went their separate ways forever. No, Adrian said. No? I'm not helping you burn it down. You want the empire gone? Do it yourself. But I'm keeping what's mine, rebuilding it better. Without you. Without Elena. Without people who think loyalty is negotiable. Marcus sighed. That's disappointing. I hoped you'd be smarter. He nodded to Steve. The gun appeared. Not pointed at Adrian, pointed at David. Last chance, Marcus said. Help me burn it, or watch people die. Adrian's hand moved toward his own weapon. Steve's partner turned in the front seat, gun leveled at Adrian's head. Standoff. Nobody moving. 3 guns, 4 people, all the wrong angles. Then Mara's voice crackled through Adrian's phone, still in his pocket. She must have kept the line open. Police are coming. I called them. They're 2 minutes out. Marcus heard it too. His face changed. Calculation. Then resignation. Steve, we're leaving, he said. What about them? Leave them. We don't have time. The doors unlocked. Steve shoved Adrian and David out onto the sidewalk. The SUV pulled away, disappearing into Chicago traffic. Adrian stood there, heart pounding, watching it go. David collapsed onto the curb, breathing like he'd run a marathon. Sirens approached. Mara appeared from across the street, running. Are you okay? She asked. Yeah, I'm okay. They had guns. I saw through the window. I called 911 and told them shots fired. Smart. Police arrived. 3 cars, lights blazing. Officers emerged, hands on weapons. Nobody move! Hands where we can see them! Adrian raised his hands. This was going to be complicated. At the station, it took 4 hours to sort out. Adrian explained who he was, showed identification, endured skeptical looks from detectives who'd seen his memorial on the news. Eventually, his lawyer arrived. Not Jonathan Drake, but someone new. Someone Vincent had connected him with. Clean. Uninvolved. The kind of lawyer who asked fewer questions and gave better answers. By midnight, Adrian was free. No charges. Just a lot of suspicious looks and warnings to stay available for further questioning. Mara waited in the lobby. She'd given her statement, stuck to simple facts. She was getting good at this. Where's David? Adrian asked. They held him. Something about outstanding warrants in California. He's not getting out anytime soon. Good. One less problem. They walked to the car. Chicago at midnight was cold, empty, honest in ways it never was during the day. Adrian felt the weight of everything pressing down. Marcus was gone. Elena was somewhere planning her next move. The empire was bleeding out, and he was standing on a sidewalk at midnight with a former maid who'd saved his life multiple times, wondering what the hell came next. We should leave Chicago, Mara said. Tonight. Marcus knows we're here. He'll try again. Let him try. Adrian, I'm done running, done hiding. Marcus wants the empire destroyed? Fine. I'll destroy it myself. My way. Then build something better. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Diane Reese answered on the first ring. I need you to liquidate everything, Adrian said. Every property, every account, every asset I still control. Sell it all. That's your entire empire. I know what it is. Sell it. Convert everything to cash and cryptocurrency. Distribute it across 100 different accounts I'll send you. Make it so scattered that nobody, not Marcus, not Elena, not the FBI, can track where it went. How long do I have? 72 hours. Can you do it? Silence. Then, yes. But Adrian, once I do this, there's no going back. Everything you built will be gone. I know, do it anyway. He hung up and called Tommy Vega next. Boss? Tommy, I need you to gather everyone who's still loyal, everyone who hasn't flipped to Marcus or Elena. Offer them a choice, cash severance and a clean exit, or they can come with me into something new, something smaller, but real. How much severance? Enough that they never have to work for someone like me again. Enough to disappear if they want. Make the offer tonight. I need answers by morning. On it. One more call to the journalist. Publish the story, Adrian said when she answered. What? You said to hold it indefinitely. I changed my mind. Publish everything. The financial records, the conspiracy, all of it. But add something. Add that Adrian Wolfe is voluntarily dismantling his organization, that he's liquidating everything and compensating everyone who worked for him. Make it a redemption story. Make it look like I'm trying to make things right. Are you? Trying to make things right? Adrian thought about that. I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe I just want to burn it down before Marcus can. Either way, it makes a better story. It does. I'll have it online by dawn. Thank you. Adrian, for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. He wasn't sure she was right, but he appreciated her saying it. Back at Vincent's house, they found him waiting up. Coffee brewing, serious expression. Marcus called me, Vincent said. Adrian froze. When? 10 minutes ago. Said to give you a message. Said that if you don't back off, if you don't stop coming after him, he'll release information that destroys you, specifics about crimes you committed, people you killed, things the public doesn't know. He's bluffing. Maybe. But he sounded serious. Adrian sat down heavily. Of course, Marcus had dirt on him. They'd committed crimes together for 20 years. Every body buried, every law broken, every line crossed. Marcus knew about all of it. If that information went public, redemption story or not, Adrian would spend the rest of his life in prison. What do we do? Mara asked. We call his bluff. Marcus releases that information. He implicates himself. We go down together. That's still mutually assured destruction. He won't do it. You sure about that? No. Mara paced. There has to be another way. Something that neutralizes Marcus without destroying you. I'm open to suggestions. She stopped pacing. Elena, the mystery man. We still don't know who he is, but we know they're meeting. We know she's keeping him separate from everything else. What if we use that? How? What if we turn her against Marcus? Show her that Marcus has 40 million she didn't know about. Show her he's planning to disappear without her. Make her realize she's about to lose everything while Marcus gets away rich. Vincent nodded slowly. A woman scorned. That's powerful motivation. Elena hates losing more than she hates me, Adrian said. If she thought Marcus was betraying her the same way she betrayed me, yeah, she'd burn him down just out of spite. How do we show her? Mara asked. David had the evidence. The accounts, the records. We get those to Elena. Let her connect the dots. David's in custody, but his files aren't. He said he had everything digital. That means it's backed up somewhere. We just need to find it. They spent the next hour hacking David's cloud accounts using passwords Adrian guessed from their brief conversation. It took 17 tries, but finally they got in. Everything was there: spreadsheets, account numbers, transfer histories. Proof of Marcus's secret fortune. Adrian packaged it all into a single file and sent it to Elena's private email. No message, no explanation, just the raw data and a subject line. Ask Marcus about these accounts. Then they waited. The response came at 3 a.m. Adrian's phone rang. Elena. You bastard, she said when he answered. No preamble. Hello, Elena. Is this real? These accounts? This money? All real. Marcus has been stealing for years, from me,
From the organization. From you. He's got $40 million hidden away, and he's planning to disappear. Without you. Heavy breathing. How do I know this isn't fake? Something you made up to turn me against him? Call him. Ask him. Watch him lie. You'll know. Silence. Then, what do you want from me? I want you to do what you do best. Protect yourself. Marcus is using you, Elena. He's always been using you. And when this falls apart, you'll take the blame while he lives on a beach somewhere spending my money. What do I get if I help you? A head start. I'm dismantling everything, liquidating all the assets. When I'm done, there won't be an empire to fight over. But if you help me locate Marcus now before he runs, I'll make sure you walk away with enough money to disappear. Clean, comfortable, alive. How much? 5 million, cash, untraceable. Another silence. Adrian could almost hear her calculating. 5 million was more than she'd get if Marcus disappeared. Less than she'd wanted from the Empire, but guaranteed. Safe. Where is he? Adrian pressed. You know, you've always known. That's how affairs work. I don't know where he is right now, but I know where he's going. He has a property, bought it 2 years ago under a shell company I helped him set up. Rural Wisconsin, near the Canadian border. That's his exit plan. Drive to Canada, fly out from there. Address? She gave it to him. Adrian wrote it down. The 5 million, Elena said. When do I get it? When this is over, when Marcus is handled. I'll have it wired to an account you specify. I want it first. No. You betrayed me once, Elena. I'm not giving you leverage to do it again. This is take it or leave it. A long pause. Then, I want 10 million. 5. 8. $5 million or nothing, and you've got 10 seconds to decide before I hang up and handle Marcus myself. Fine, 5 million. But Adrian, when this is done, when you've paid me, we never speak again. We never see each other. You stay out of my life forever. That's the best deal either of us is getting tonight. She hung up. Adrian looked at Mara and Vincent. We've got an address. You really trust her? Vincent asked. No, but I trust her self-interest. And right now, her best move is helping me stop Marcus. They left for Wisconsin at dawn. 3 hours of highway, cutting through farmland and small towns that looked like time forgot them. The address Elena had given led to a property 15 miles outside a town called Ashford. Rural, isolated, exactly the kind of place you staged an escape from. Adrian had Vincent park a mile away. They approached on foot through woods still brown from winter, frost crunching under boots. The property appeared through bare trees, a small cabin, single vehicle in the driveway. Smoke rose from the chimney. Marcus was inside. What's the plan? Mara whispered. I go in. Talk to him. See if we can end this without more bodies. And if he shoots you, then you call the police and finish what I started. Adrian, it has to be me. This whole thing started because I trusted the wrong people. It ends with me fixing that mistake. Alone. Vincent handed him the Glock. At least take this. Adrian took it. Stay here, both of you. 15 minutes. If I'm not out, come in loud. He walked toward the cabin alone. Each step felt heavy, final. This was it. The ending, one way or another. No more running, no more planning. Just two men who'd built an empire together, now tearing it apart. The door was unlocked. Adrian pushed it open. Marcus sat at a table, laptop open, coffee steaming beside him. He looked up as Adrian entered. Didn't seem surprised. Knew you'd find me, Marcus said. Elena? Elena. Of course, she always did have survival instincts. He gestured to a chair. Sit, since you came all this way. Adrian sat, gun in his hand but not raised. Marcus had his own weapon on the table. Neither man moved toward them. You really dismantling everything? Marcus asked. Already started. By tonight there won't be anything left to fight over. Smart. Scorched earth. I would have done the same. I learned from you. Marcus smiled. Yeah, you did. I taught you a lot. Strategy, patience, how to build something that lasts. And you taught me something too. What's that? That empire isn't worth the cost. You spent 30 years building this thing, Adrian, and what did it get you? A wife who tried to kill you, a partner who betrayed you, an organization that fell apart the second you weren't there to hold it together.
You gave everything to something that never really existed. We existed. Our partnership, that was real. For a while. Then it became a cage. I was always going to be second, always going to be the guy in your shadow, and I couldn't live with that anymore. So you tried to kill me? Yeah, I did, and I'd do it again. Not because I hate you, Adrian, because I needed to be free, needed to be my own man, and you'd never let that happen as long as you were alive. Adrian felt something break inside. Not anger, not even sadness, just acceptance. I would have let you go, he said quietly. If you'd asked. If you'd just come to me and said you wanted out, wanted to build your own thing, I would have helped you. I would have given you resources, connections, everything you needed to succeed. Marcus's face changed. For the first time, emotion showed through. I didn't know that. How could I know that? You never gave up anything, never showed weakness, never admitted you needed help or that someone might want something different than what you wanted. I trusted you. That should have been enough. Trust isn't the same as freedom. They sat in silence. Outside, wind moved through trees. Two men who'd shared everything, now sharing nothing but regret. What happens now? Marcus asked. You disappear. Take your 40 million, go wherever you plan to go. I won't chase you, won't send anyone after you. You get your freedom, but you can never come back. Never contact anyone from the old life. You're dead to me, to Chicago, to everything we built. That's the price. And if I say no, then I release everything. Every crime we committed together, every body we buried. We both go to prison and die there. Your choice. Marcus looked at his laptop, at the cabin around them, at the life he'd built in secret while pretending to be someone he wasn't. I was going to Canada tonight, he said, then to Argentina. Start over. New name, new life. Leave all this behind. So do it. I'm giving you permission. What about Elena? She gets 5 million and a head start. Same deal. Gone forever. And you get what? Satisfaction? Revenge? I get to rebuild. Smaller, better, with people I can actually trust. That's enough. Marcus stood, walked to the window. 23 years, Adrian. That's a long time. We did good work together, built something impressive. And I threw it all away because I was too proud to ask for what I needed. We both made mistakes. Yeah, but I made bigger ones. He turned back, extended his hand. Goodbye, Adrian. Adrian stood, looked at the offered hand, all the history in it, all the betrayal, all the brotherhood that had turned to poison. He shook it. Goodbye, Marcus. They held the grip for a moment, then released. Marcus gathered his laptop, a bag from the floor, everything he needed to disappear. At the door, he stopped. For what it's worth, Marcus said, I'm sorry, not for wanting freedom, but for thinking murder was the only way to get it. You deserved better than that. Yeah, I did. Marcus left. Adrian watched through the window as he got in his car, started the engine, drove away down the long dirt road. Watched until the vehicle disappeared completely. Then he sat down at the table and called Mara. It's done, he said. He's gone. Are you okay? No, but I will be. He walked out of the cabin. Mara and Vincent were waiting at the tree line. They didn't ask questions, just walked with him back to the car. The drive back to Chicago was quiet. Adrian watched the landscape roll past, thinking about everything he'd lost and everything he'd gained. An empire gone, a marriage ended, a partnership destroyed. But also freedom from the weight of it all, liberation from people who'd become anchors. Diane called as they crossed into Illinois. It's done, she said. Everything's liquidated. I've distributed the funds across the accounts you specified. Total comes to about $340 million after taxes and quick sale losses. Good. Transfer $5 million to the account I'm about to send you. That's Elena's payment. Then set up trust funds for everyone who worked in the organization. Everyone who didn't betray me. Split $100 million among them based on years of service. That's generous. It's earned. They gave me their loyalty. I'm giving them security. What's left? Divide it 4 ways. You, Tommy, Vincent, and Mara each get $50 million. The rest stays with me. Silence. Then, Adrian, that's too much. I can't accept. You can, and you will. All of you.
You stood by me when everyone else ran. You get compensated for that. No arguments. Thank you. Thank me by disappearing somewhere nice, living a good life, and never mentioning my name again. I can do that. He hung up and looked at Mara. You just became very rich, he said. Her eyes were wide. $50 million. Yeah. I don't know what to do with $50 million. Whatever you want. Go to school, start a business, travel the world, buy a house. The point is, you never have to clean anyone's house again. You never have to be invisible. You matter. Forever. She was crying. Not sad crying, something else. Relief, maybe. Or joy. Or just the weight of survival finally lifting. Vincent cleared his throat. For the record, I didn't do any of this for money. I know, but you're getting it anyway. Call it payment for 15 years of patience, for being there when it mattered. What about you? Vincent asked. What's your plan? Adrian thought about that. He had roughly $100 million left. Enough to rebuild an empire if he wanted, or enough to live quietly forever. Enough for anything. I'm going to disappear too, he said. Different city, different name, different life. Maybe I'll find something legitimate to do. Maybe I'll just exist for a while. Figure out who I am when I'm not Adrian Wolfe, crime boss. You'll always be Adrian Wolfe, Mara said. Maybe, but I can be a different version of him, a better one. They reached Vincent's house as the sun set. Inside, Adrian called the journalist one last time. Publish everything, he said. The whole story. But end it with this. Adrian Wolfe is gone. The empire is dissolved. Everyone's been compensated. And the man who used to be Adrian Wolfe is starting over. Somewhere else. Someone else. The end. That's really the end? That's really the end. The story went live at midnight. By dawn, it was everywhere. News sites, social media, television. The fall of Adrian Wolfe. The empire's collapse. The partnership's betrayal. Everything laid bare for the world to see. And underneath it all, the subtle thread, redemption. A criminal trying to make things right before disappearing forever. Public opinion was mixed. Some called Adrian a monster trying to buy forgiveness. Others called him brave for walking away. Most didn't care beyond the scandal and drama. But Adrian didn't read the comments. Didn't watch the coverage. He was too busy packing. A week later, he stood in Vincent's living room with a single suitcase. Everything he owned now fit in one bag. Strange how light that felt. Vincent shook his hand. Where are you going? Montana, maybe. Somewhere with space and quiet. Somewhere nobody knows my name. You'll be bored in a month. Probably, but it'll be a different kind of bored. Mara waited by the car. She'd cut her hair even shorter, looked younger somehow, less haunted. I'm going to Europe, she said. Figure out who I am when I'm not running from someone. Maybe I'll write a book. Or learn to paint. I don't know yet. Whatever you do, it'll be yours. That's what matters. Will I see you again? Adrian thought about that. Probably not. This is goodbye. That's sad. Maybe, but we survived. That's more than most people get. She hugged him. He let her, even though he'd never been much for hugging. When she pulled back, she was smiling. Thank you for seeing me, she said, for making me matter. You always mattered. I just helped you see it. She got in her car and drove away. Vincent went back inside, leaving Adrian alone on the porch. His phone buzzed one last time. Text from an unknown number. You did the right thing. Not many people in our world get to walk away. Enjoy it while you can. M. Marcus. Wherever he was, Argentina maybe, or somewhere even further, he was watching. Probably always would be. Adrian deleted the message and turned off the phone. Then he got in his car and started driving. North toward open roads and empty skies, toward a life that might be smaller but would be his, toward whatever came next for a man who'd died twice and come back both times. Chicago disappeared in his rearview mirror. With it went everything he'd been, everything he'd built, everything he'd lost. But ahead, through the windshield, the road stretched infinite. And for the first time in 30 years, Adrian Wolfe, or whoever he'd become, was free. The empire was dead. The king had abdicated. And the man who remained drove into sunset, alone but not lonely, broken but not destroyed,
carrying nothing but the knowledge that he'd survived when survival seemed impossible. That was enough. That was everything.